I think we'll do a small time skip of just perhaps a couple of hours or so. And the three of you, having been tasked by Senator Pangborn to head towards Midgin, which is the Oakenfield's nearest kind of major neighbour in terms of another settlement. Obviously, when you were in Oakenford, you were surrounded by the remnant of the terrifying destruction that was wrought by this meteorite. And the most obvious way in which that was affecting you initially was an enormous dust cloud. Walking north from Oakenford, following the kind of main road. Jeb, this is a road that you've walked several times on your travels, making deliveries and so on.
Oh yeah.
The dust cloud persists for getting gradually better, but for about almost the first hour of your walking, it's almost an hour before you kind of are fully clear of the effects of what occurred, which of course was in game time only perhaps a couple of hours ago. But eventually you do emerge from the dust and cease to be afflicted by it. You're certainly not blinded anymore or anything like that. And you emerge out into the remnants of a cloudy day. It's now kind of early afternoon. The road north is surrounded by a lot of grassland on both sides. But as you walk on, as you get having walked free of the dust cloud, as the road goes on, the terrain becomes more. You can now see that the road kind of cuts through some hills, some small hills on either side. It's certainly not forest, but there are trees and stuff around. The physical evidence of what occurred is of course still visible in one really notable way, which is that the three of you are covered head to toe in dust, looking pretty kind of caked in this mess as you pass through these hills.
Hell yeah, man, we're caked up. Look at us. Thicker nail.
And I think one thing that I'd like to, it's obviously been quite an eventful day. The three of you have been thrust together with this shared goal. As you'll recall, there were other parties that were sent off to Loom and one down to Ninespire, the capital, to also seek aid and deliver the news of what had occurred. But quite an eventful day, and I suppose it seems natural to me that while you're on that walk north, perhaps there are some thoughts that you have, and perhaps that might be a place to begin, is to zoom in and listen in on the conversation as it unfolds and what each of you perhaps is making of everything that befell you in Oakenford this morning.
One point of order, something that I wanted
Sure.
to kind of paint a picture in my mind for. Because we never really properly investigated the meteorite, right? We saw it, but we felt the urgency of the moment and we like left.
Correct.
How big was it?
The
like sat in the ground where it landed. How big was it?
The remnant of the meteorite that you could see off in the distance, or no, better yet, what hit the ground was about between 20 and 25 meters across.
Okay.
It's a significant bit of rock, and
yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty sizable thing.
All right. Yeah, as we walk, Jeb will kind of like as far away as we can get where I can still see it. I keep kind of turning over my shoulders, looking at it, just kind of pondering it. I imagine it's shrouded in all this dust in the air, just kind of looming, real ominous like. And I'll turn to Al and Thorn to say, where y'all reckon that came from? like it.
Well, well, I think it came up out of the sky. Maybe that lady who talked about the Southern Star had anything to do with it, or any more knowledge?
Can I do a history check, Martin? I want to see if there's any like past events that would make me suspicious that this is more than just a freak meteorite strike.
Yeah, please do.
Like,
Let's have a
like,
history.
like, okay, like specifically like history of this happening. Like, would I know of that, or any kind of magical attacks that could be, you know what I mean? Like somebody
Yeah.
getting revenge on this town. Okay, yeah, just because yeah, Jeb's real curious and he's fascinated by history, and I want to roll some dice.
Yeah, give us a let's have a history check.
Hell yeah, here we go.
Ritual tonight.
Oh, not great, not good at all.
Last time out, Phil, you were throwing nat 20s like they were bits of like nobody's business. You think back to stories that you may have heard back in the holler growing up about any kind of, there are in Playdean often strange goings on, and it is a place that occasionally sees conflict, even besides the Crimson War, which is obviously the most notable conflict of recent times, but does see bad actors that seek to do harm for various reasons, and other incidents, some naturally occurring, and some less naturally occurring. But in racking your brains, you don't seem to find anything that kind of reminds you of this, or anything that gives any indication of what this would do, or where, or any similar incidents through history. Nothing that springs to mind.
Yeah, I guess that I'll just shake my head and be like, just a freak accident. Like, it's so weird and it looks so strange, but that's just something fall out of the sky like that, out of the blue.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about this where I came from.
I just hope those people gonna be all right. I hope we can hurry back in time to help them. I hope Midgen fared better.
Yeah, I hope it is. I'm not sure how close it is from the meteor. Maybe they had some earthquakes or something.
Yeah. How far have we walked, would you say, so far, Martin?
You've walked a couple of hours. Midgen was described to you as most of a day's walk away, so you've still got a decent bit of ground to cover.
Okay. Are we seeing any destruction around where we are so far?
Once you
have we cleared that?
Yeah, once you got clear of the immediate Oakenford area, there are no signs of anything strange. The crater was more or less the most of the crater was really reserved to the area immediately surrounding the northwest side of Oakenford. When obviously last time we looked at the map and how it changed so drastically, one thing that was perhaps missed in that was a couple of things that were very much obliterated. I think Senator Pangborn mentioned this. A lot of the farming of Oakenford was done on the northwest side of the town, and the farms were directly impacted and just completely destroyed. But yeah, the dust cloud is now dissipated. The ground seems pretty normal once you get a little way clear of Oakenford. So where you are now, a couple of hours up the road, all looks visibly to be pretty normal. The countryside doesn't appear to have been affected this far out.
All right. Yeah, I think we just need to get to stepping and double leg it on to Midgen. See how they're doing.
How's Thorn? How are you feeling about everything that's been going on? What's on Thorn's mind at the moment?
I think Thorn is like, okay, I got an order to to get there and just goes there to help.
Mm-hmm.
So not that much of thoughts about things.
Jeb, give me another history check if you wouldn't mind.
I'd be glad to.
Woof.
Oh my God in heaven! My dice, where'd they go?
The name of Midgin, ever since Sense Pangborn asked you to go there, has been sort of like playing on your mind a little bit. There's something pertinent to you about Midgin that means you've not gone there in ages. You don't make deliveries there, so unlike some of the other places in the region, you never make Tormis deliveries to Midgin. But it's been years now, and it's been decades maybe.
Yeah, I started bypassing it, just going straight to Oakenford because all my business came through there.
But it's been so long now, you can't quite remember why. There's something about it that was relevant that meant that you stopped delivering there, but you can't remember what it is. So the countryside, as I say, becomes a kind of series of small hills and valleys on both sides, and away to your left, to the west, you can faintly hear some splashing water. Sounds like some kind of stream maybe is running nearby. And
I hear some water. Maybe we can wash some of the dirt off.
Oh, that'd be
Okay.
nice.
Washing is
That
for
would
dirty
feel better.
people.
Oh,
Have you looked in maybe in the reflection of the water? You'll see
yeah,
you about covered up there, friend.
well, Thorn, you got a smidgen here.
You got a smidgen. There's a tiny little. You got a little something right here.
Up to
so would
Thorn
you-
and like pat. I'm gonna pat their shoulder, just be like, just a little bit right here, and a huge, just a cloud.
It's
so
just like,
would the
It's
three
fine.
of you like to head towards the water? Is that the plan?
I think
Well,
that's a fine plan.
Okay.
Me,
If you-
me
if
being
you
an owlin,
two-
I'll prefer that.
if you two want to clean yourself, go on.
I love that. Thorn just very comfortable with it, not bothered,
Okay.
like that
Good.
too.
Well, you take a small diversion from the main road, and it's only just away behind a couple of low hills nearby, and you arrive at as you're kind of pushing between a couple of these small hills, you hear the water begins to get louder as you become closer, and you emerge into a little a clearing. And here you see a small pool of water with little branches of streams running off from it, and a waterfall. Just to give you an idea of scale, because I'll be totally honest and say I don't think this image necessarily depicts it in the best way. That rock wall and the height of the waterfall is about 10 feet. So it's not a massive thing. This isn't a massive lake that it's pouring into. It's quite a small pool area with some trees that surround it. And so, if I've understood correctly, Jeb and Owl, you intend to wash this dust off you, and Thorn, you intend to not do that. You're just going to live with it and just like stay with the dust on you.
I will probably get some water to drink.
Yeah, good call.
Um,
Love that.
So probably my face is a little bit cleaner then.
Okay, so just like around the mouth, just like
Yeah.
begins to wash off. I love it. So as you approach the stream to begin the process of cleaning yourselves up, you suddenly hear a cry of "Dust goblins!" and you see out of a nearby tree, you watch as a young human woman with bright pink hair leaps down from the tree and draws a big axe and is like, "Prepare to die!" And she strikes this pose. So she's got this. She's got like bright pink hair and a nose ring, and holds this like two-handed battle axe in her hands. Her clothes are kind of pretty scarce. Like she's dressed in more or less kind of a two-piece of barbarian rags, basically, for like for lack of a better term. But she does wear kind of big clumping boots as well. She strikes this fierce-looking pose with her axe and goes, and goes, "On behalf of the people of Playdean, prepare to die, dust goblins, at the hand of Susanard Meningus." At that, as soon as she says her name, a second figure leaps out of another tree. It's a tabaxi who lands in a kind of superhero pose on the ground and looks up and goes, "Top buttons!" And then from behind a third tree emerges this elf wearing glittering silver and gold armour, depicting a sort of lion. The kneecaps of their boots are in the form of the face of a lion, and they've also got like pauldrons on their shoulders that are lion heads as well. And he walks out kind of a bit less enthusiastically than the other two, sort of dragging a big sword along the ground next to him, and sort of just like gives you a sort of nod to be like, "Hey," but doesn't actually say anything. And the first woman who leapt out of the tree sort of fills in for him and goes, "And Galenor, Lionhearted, and we are," and the two of them, this loud woman and this tabaxi, cry in unison, "We are the Rubriquerques." So yeah, she continues, is like, "We must defeat these disgusting dust goblins. Are you ready, top buttons?" "I'm always ready, as you know." And this other elf just like shrugs his shoulders and like, and they begin to move towards you.
Hang on.
Owl is still looking around for said dust goblins, although never having seen them before. Dust goblins? What are dust goblins?
That's a great question. No, it sure as hell ain't us. And I'm gonna take my hat off and just kind of dust my head real quick and be like, "Just a little rat folk, ma'am. Nothing to worry about. No gust goblins here."
Thorn, what's your reaction to this noise?
Looking at the lady with the pink hair, and I'm like, "Girl, what the fuck?"
As the three of them begin to move towards you, and you sort of, and Jeb, you're sort of like take your hat off and like, "I'm just a rat folk," you know. It's sort of, they pause a little bit, and this pink-haired woman who'd identified herself as Susanard Meningus turns to her tabaxi friend and is like, "Top, do dust goblins talk?" He's like, "Well, I don't know if they talk, but I can think of something they could do with their mouths." She's like, "Top buttons? How many times? Stop it."
That's funny right there.
She goes, "So dust goblins, I thought they didn't talk. Then again, I've never seen one before." He's like, "No, I'm not sure. I can't remember what I read about them. Galenor, do dust goblins talk?" And this elf just looks back. He's like, "Oh, right, the silence thing. She, this woman steps forward, and the tabaxi says, "Susie, just ask them. He's like, "Right, well, I didn't think dust goblins talked. Are you dust goblins?
Man, we ain't a goblin one. This man is an owl. You see, he's an owl right there. He got wings and feathers. You ever seen a goblin with wings? I don't reckon you have. And look at this person here. Pointing like way up.
He'll fit 2 goblins in there.
But you're all covered in dust. I thought you were dust monsters.
Oh, we come up from Oakenfort. Did y'all see something big falling out of the sky to the south?
The Tabaxi chips in and is like, I see a lot of big things. But
Can you walk it back for just a second, please?
she goes, it's like, we did see something, yeah, a couple of hours ago. We thought maybe it had caused some kind of danger. We were on our way there to investigate, and then we saw some dust goblins coming up the road, so we darted aside. She says, what happened there?
You saw dust goblins going out of Oakenfort? Well, Oakenfort isn't there anymore.
There was
Not
that big rocky falling
How
from
does
the
people
sky.
used to know?
A big rock falling from the sky. So how did you
That's
escape?
We were some of the lucky ones. There wasn't many, but it destroyed a whole bunch of land, a bunch of buildings, and sadly took the lives of. And I'm gonna take my hat. I've had it up in the air, to be like, hey. So I'm gonna put it again, kind of here, and be like, a lot of people lost their lives. We're trying to find some food and some supplies to help them, and we're on our way to Midgin.
On your way to Midgin. So you're helping them get some more food.
That's right.
the thing we're trying to do.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like a job for the Rubriquex. It's like we'll help you on your way. How much?
How much what?
How much? What?
How much are you getting paid for the job?
We're not getting paid. We're helping the helpless.
Yeah, ma'am. This is you. I think there might be a mistake here. This is not a mercenary venture. This is an aid mission.
Well, fair enough. When people need help, they need help. But, we've all got expenses, living expenses. Everyone deserves to be paid for their time, surely.
Well, I'm afraid if you're seeking recompense for your assistance, we're not gonna have much we can offer you.
This Tabaxi, Top Buttons, interjects again. He's like, I'm ashamed to say I've been paid for my time on a couple of occasions when things have been very bad, We've all been there, haven't we? Yes. She goes, oh, well, we'd love to help, but honestly, we don't have very much. We do tend to work on a purely non-speculative basis, if you know what I mean. But having established that you are not dust goblins, I suppose we could always go to Oakenford and see if we can lend our talents in any other ways. Couldn't we, Top? I'm always ready to lend my talents. Galenor,
I reckon you are, mister.
Galenor the elf, throughout all of
You
this,
seem ready and willing.
is just stood there, just looking at the ground, looking kind of embarrassed, but doesn't.
Always like that?
Is who always like what?
Well, the cat one, is he always like that?
A cat? Please. Do you enjoy being called a bird?
Oh, no, I'm alright.
Well, you look better than all right to me from here.
Okay.
How big is this top?
How big is what?
Like,
Sorry.
how tall is? How big is top? Like.
Oh,
how
top
tall is
buttons.
he?
Top buttons is about like 5.5 feet.
Wait, how? Back was I? And I was 6 feet. So
You're 6 feet. You're topping him.
I'm tapping him on the head like, boy, I think you're great.
He sort of gives this little shudder and is like, is there anything better than the physical attentions of, well, anyone, really?
Seem like you take what you can get, friend.
Don't we all? Don't we all, darling?
I reckon some more than others. Though.
Top Buttons has never satisfied.
I'm getting that impression.
She says, Top Buttons, will you just put it away for 30 seconds? I'm trying to have a conversation and possibly find us a job. For goodness sake. She goes, do you think maybe we'll go to Oakenford and see if we can help out any further?
They will be glad if you help there.
Oh, they'd be thrilled, and I can't speak for the senator. They may be willing to offer you some kind of payment for your help, but I know that more hands would be very welcome.
She, as you mentioned the possibility of payment, she starts sort of nodding very sort of vigorously, and then whatever you said after that didn't really register.
Very good. Okay, well, I was going to say if I need to persuade, but it sounds like I mentioned money and everything's good. So
she
Although-
goes,
very secret.
I don't think it will be money, but maybe in good or something like that.
well, don't worry, leave the negotiating to us. This isn't our first time. She goes, well, we'll be on our way. If I can make a small suggestion, you're quite easy to mistake for dust goblins or other nefarious beasts at the moment. It might be an idea to find some kind of water to clean yourselves off a little bit and make yourselves a little more... Oh! And she looks, it's like, there's some right here. I'd use this if I were you.
Oh,
Well,
what
you've
a
been
wonderful idea. We
incredibly helpful.
we almost missed it.
I'm pointing at the other two. It's like y'all stick with her. She's a bright one. She's gonna go far in life.
She goes, all right, well, be safe on the road and always keep your eyes and ears out for... And she looks at the other two, and her and Top Buttons and not Galanor go, the Rubric Works! And the three of them, well, Top Buttons and Susie sort of dash off into the distance, and Galanor kind of like just looks up. He's been staring at his shoes the whole time, and he like just sort of looks up at the three of you and walks off, dragging his sword behind him, just like. Okay.
Maybe we'll see you later, Kalanor.
He just turns around and like just nods, and walks off. So there you go. That was you've met the Rubric Works. You may now resume cleaning, which I assume will now take place. Is there anything? Well, folks, thoughts? Don't know if that might inspire some conversation.
I'm gonna look at Apple and Thor and be like, either of y'all ever in your life, one, met anyone like that, and two, heard of a dust goblin?
I never heard of a dust goblin, no, and I traveled a lot.
I swear, man, further I get from the holler, you just run into some folks.
I don't even know what the tabaxi one was going on about.
He's been in the
I think that's for grown-ups.
Yeah, I think so.
Actually,
I'm getting there.
Yeah, you will get there.
Jeb and Thorn, give me a nature check. Why not? I want you to rack your brains and see if Dust Goblins really does ring any bells.
Yeah. Oh, good shout. All right.
Dirty 20.
A dirty 20 and a 17. Yeah, they don't exist. Neither of you have ever heard of a dust goblin before in your life. That's the first time you've ever heard those two words uttered in the same, like together like that. Poor old Susie. Don't know what's going
Bless
on
her
with
heart.
her, really.
Yeah, she's into something else apparently, and I think Top Button's been in the tobacco nip. He's been rolling around in it.
He sure has. Is there anything else that you would like? I'm gonna take it as read now that Jeb and Owl, at the very least, have washed off a good amount of the dust from them. Is there anything else that any of you want to do in this area? Anything that you're doing?
No, just going through the arduous process of like reslinging all my pouches after I've kind of patted them off and dusted out my hat and jacket and just kind of splashed and cleaned so I'm feeling much better for being not so caked in rubble and dust.
While they are cleaning themselves, Thorn will take out all his weapons and clean them and sharpen them again, so they're like completely ready for next battle.
Yeah, pristine. Good call. Love that.
What all does Thorn keep on their person? Like how many? Like what weapons do you have? Do you have just like an arsenal laying around you?
Just a big dagger and 2 hand axes and what is on my arm.
Nice. Okay.
Sword and a shield and 2,000 arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shaking everything out of her. Yeah. I'm gonna approach Thorn and say, if you don't mind my asking, what happened to your arm? I ain't never seen one quite like that. I mean, as an artificer, I'm fascinated by things like that.
I lost it during sailing. They had to cut it off, otherwise it would fall off the boat.
Oh my goodness! What took it? Again, if you don't mind saying.
I was like the I'm not sure what it's called in English. The sails and the wooden beam in the middle was broken down, and my hand was like stuck in all the ropes.
Oh wow!
So they had to like cut off all the sails and push that in the water to not sink with the whole boat. But yeah, it was either way my arm or my whole body going with it.
Oh, by all means. Well, that's incredible. The marvels of modern magic and mechanics. Quite impressive.
Anything else that anybody is talking about doing, or is it back to the road once you're cleaned off?
Yeah, are you ladies ready?
No. Just because I enjoy to be clean and pristine.
I love that. Thorn just fucking throwing bombs for the sin of wanting to appear a little less ghastly on the road.
Let me readjust my bonnet, and the ma'am is ready. All right. Yeah, we got somewhere to be.
As you return to the road, Jeb and Owl looking a little bit more presentable. Thorn still looking quite rugged and dust covered, but their weapons looking absolutely gleaming. Let's get priorities. Let's make the right choice. So heading north on the road, then I think another couple of hours goes by, and then you reach the hills and valleys kind of flatten out, and away to your east, you can see that the ground kind of flattens but lowers into like a big floodplain, like a big open plain away to your east.
And I, in this track of the journey, I still have the amulet that we found with the
Yes.
person just outside of Oakenford.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ritually cast Identify during the travel?
You want to cast Identify? Yeah?
Yeah.
How does the Identify spell manifest for you, Owl? What's the... is it just a voice you hear in your head? Do you hear something out loud? What do you think? How do you think this goes for you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I would also encourage, for example, some kind of spectral being to pop up and explain things to you.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. So I'll ritually cast Identify by having the amulet in my clasped hands, and imagining the person I found next to it, sort of like have a connection, look at the scratches on the amulet, to have the object tell the story about itself.
So the object to tell the story about itself. Okay, nice. I love that.
Yeah. Like the scratches in it will tell the story about it once being scratched against a stone, or the weather that that has impacted the object, and running along a finger or a nail along the scratch brings up the image of the person holding it before. And that's the way I try to learn what the object is used for, how it is used, to sort of like get to know the history a bit of the object.
Cool. As you focus your mind on the amulet, you hear this. What sort of voice do we think this will be? You hear this voice emerge that is a whispery kind of sound, and it says, "Hello, I'm the Identify spell. I am an amulet of Asmanos. My properties are not always clear. However, I can be used to locate worshippers of the god Asmanos. Goodbye." And with that, the voice fades.
Yeah. Oh. Have you guys heard of Asmanos?
Al, why don't you give me a... has anyone got... what's the word I'm after? Proficiency. Has anyone got proficiency in religion?
No, he doesn't have proficiency.
I do. I have 5 points in religion, but I don't have proficiency now.
Yeah, he does have the Jack of all trades.
What does that do?
Jack of all trades gives... Let me check on it. You can add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any abilities check that you made that doesn't already include it. So I have... It's traveling, going around. Have just a bit more proficiency in scores. I don't already have proficiency in.
I think...
Good bard stats.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody... I'm going to ask everybody for a religion check, but... It's going to be a DC 18, and for reasons that I understand, you're all going to roll with disadvantage.
Okay.
Hey.
Let's give it a shot.
What? Oh my god.
11. Jeb has an 18.
Jeb rolls an 18.
That's
Very...
Don't ask
That was
me
with-
about religion.
Okay.
Just don't.
Breaking disadvantage. 15 and a 16.
15 and a 16 on the dice. Amazing, with a +3. Jeb.
Sweet.
Honestly-
Okay, I was like, wait, something's wrong. I actually succeeded in a roll.
No, amazing.
You're right.
Jeb, you were thinking earlier about whether you had heard of anything similar to the meteorite attack and came up short, right? But
Right.
something that when you think back to stories, now the Holler's kind of its own community, but
Right.
you did end up through your travels now, and actually because you are older, this is something that Al would not remember because of his age, and it's something that Thorn would not be aware of because they're from Jin and have only recently come to Playdean. But because of your age and experience in travelling around, and of course, dare we lest we forget your relationship to people like clerics, like Achak Daygale, you recall that Asmanos was the god of the stars. And
Now, Al, you said Asmanos.
Yes.
I know that name. I have heard that before. Yes, that is the god of the stars and the cosmos.
And additionally, it occurs to you that ever since the Crimson War ended, you know that the monotheism of the Raven god Corvus has been promoted across Playdean since the war, and has become the sort of dominant religion. But now you think about it, you don't recall hearing the name Asmanos in years, in probably 20 years, like from just after the war ended, really. And it kind of occurs to you that you've not heard that name in a really long time.
Wow. Yeah, I reckon you might consider that one of the older deities, I guess. I mean, I ain't even heard that name in 20 years since before the war. How interesting that they were outside of Oakenford.
So
Or at
this-
least one of their adherents, or someone looking for somebody. I wonder if Great Wolf is has anything to do with Asmanos as well.
I think so, if this is the amulet we found there.
Do you know how to use it?
Well, I can try. And I'll try to activate the amulet.
How?
I think by talking into the projecting my voice into the amulet. Please, amulet, we're looking for followers of Asmanos. Please show us the way of your guiding light.
When you picked up the amulet off the person, you recall that it was giving off a faint glow. This rune that was inscribed into it was glowing red faintly. The amulet now, as you hold it in your hand, isn't doing that. The outline of the rune is still visible, but there's no the glow. While that's been in your pocket, at some stage that glow has disappeared. When you speak to it, nothing happens.
Well, I don't think this works. Maybe we can find people in Mission or somewhere else to help us with this. Maybe a holy person.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, we'll keep it handy, I suppose. We'll maybe we can check it from time to time.
Continuing on the road, then, away to your east, as I mentioned, there's a large open plain. It's kind of, you can see quite far across it because you're at a slightly elevated position from the road. It kind of dips down into a bit of a valley and a floodplain. And you've actually arrived at a bit of a fork in the road, and there's a signpost. Jeb, you've been here many times. You've passed this signpost. You know this part of the land pretty well, or at least have been here several times. The signpost essentially shows three things coming out from it. One of them points north, continuing on the main road that you're on, and says to Valarian. One points back the way you came south and says to Oakenford Crossroads, Nine Spire and Loom. And the third points off to the northwest to Midgen. Away to your east, down on the floodplain, you can actually see away in the distance a crowd of people.
Are they standing in one place? Are they moving?
Give me a
Look like
perception.
they're moving.
Give me a perception check.
Yeah. Is this for everyone or just for Owl?
Just Owl, I think. On a 17.
Okay.
Looking, what you can see is that there are two clusters of people. And of just like these aren't like armies or anything. This is like a two groups of people, of maybe 6 or 7 people in each group, facing one another. And in the middle of the two of them, the two groups are perhaps 10 or 15 feet apart from one another, and there's a solitary figure stood in between the two groups. It's what you can tell reasonably easily from your stance is that to go there, if you were to if you wanted to head towards them, that's probably about a 40-minute walk or so away.
In which direction is it?
They're off to the east, the opposite direction to Midgen, essentially.
Right.
Looks like something's going on there, but Mission is the other way.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we have to go to Midgen because they need help in Oakenford.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, but maybe those people can help as well.
I think those people are busy with other things.
That could be a thing.
All I'll say, even if all you did was walk over there, turn around and walk back, that would add about 90 minutes or a little longer perhaps to your, that's how far out the way you'll have gone just by walking there and
back. If we walk that way, will we have to zigzag along the path?
It's actually pretty straight. It's the land has dipped down into kind of an open plain. So there's a few rises and like some rocks and stuff like that, but it's not challenging terrain in any way.
Well, I don't know. I kind of want to help those people as well. and it's looks about 12, 14 people. Do you know how many help they could give?
Yeah, they might be helpful the same way that our other friends were.
Maybe even
Time is of the
maybe even
essence.
more
It's
help.
quite a
I'm gonna
paralyzed
see.
by choice.
I'm gonna see what's going on there.
Thorn, what do you think?
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
um, I think that we have to stick to our plan of going to Midgin. But if you two want to go to this group of people to ask if they can help, then I'm fine with that. I will follow you then.
I think it might be worth the detour. I reckon we can make that pretty quick. There and back again, hopefully. I'm inclined to go.
All right, is the decision made?
I'll start walking towards the group.
So as you depart from the road and make your way, it's as I say, you kind of shuffle down an incline, a shallow incline a little way, and then the ground levels out into this wide open plain that is really just grass, not even a huge amount of trees. It's quite sort of open and spacey. The the ground's kind of a little soft beneath your feet. Maybe there was some rain earlier today, and there's the sort of a fresh scent in the air. It's probably quite pleasant after the tribulations of the day. As you are walking that way, you've probably only been walking for sort of 5 or 10 minutes, and I suppose you're looking ahead of you and looking at these groups. As you've now gone down onto their level, you can barely now see them because you don't have the advantage of height to be able to see them.
Wanting to keep them in my eyesight, I'll pick up some speed and try to fly overhead.
Nice. So you're going to take to the skies. I love it. Give me perception with advantage, Al.
But still be in hearing distance of Thorn and Jeb.
Mm-hmm.
Perception.
Nice.
21.
On a 21, as you take to the skies, you're sort of, so I guess you're still in earshot, so you're not like super high up or anything, but you now see off in the distance that the two groups have turned and are walking away from one another. One of them is heading north and the other is heading kind of east towards the river, away from you. But the one figure is walking towards you and the group. And actually, they're, you've been walking for perhaps 10 minutes, and based on the distances involved, it looks like for most of that time they've been heading back in your direction as well. There's no indication whether or not they've seen you at this stage.
Well, it looks like the group's left, but there's a person coming our way.
Is he armed?
That doesn't look like it, but he's still a little tiny speck for me.
All right. Well, we're three against him if he means ill will, but we'll keep our eyes out.
As you continue on your destiny presumably in the same direction towards this guy. Some minutes later, you're now kind of definitely within eyeshot of one another, and you see him sort of pause as he comes into easy seeing distance of you, and then he more slowly begins to walk towards you. And as you get closer, he holds his hands up like here, with open palms. And as he gets closer, you you see that this is a gnome, a gnomish person, and he's dressed in a kind of fairly modest clothing, just some basic shoes and cloth trousers and this blue tunic. The one thing that he does wear that's of note as he approaches, that you can see, is a sort of a sash going kind of diagonally across his body, and the sash reads, it's like an acronym. It says CRASH, crash. And as he gets closer, he calls out to you with his hands still aloft, and goes, "Peace, peace, brothers, peace, my friends. Can't we just talk about this?" Goes,
You want to talk about what?
Well, peace, of course. He says, "Are you lost? Are you heading somewhere in particular? There's not much this way other than the river eventually. Are you seeking someone in particular?"
Well, we were on our way to Midgen, but we saw what looked like a confrontation.
Oh, alas, indeed it was. You notice now, as he gets very close to you, he's been walking towards you while this conversation's begun. You see that his face is a bit bruised. He's got like welts on his face. Yet he doesn't look overly perturbed by this. He's speaking to you quite reasonably jovially, He goes, "Alas, yes, it could have been a nasty bit of business, but if not for the intervention of myself on behalf of Crash, but I am pleased to say that all is once again well in the land of Playdeen. But you're on your way to Midgen, you say?"
All's well, you mean?
Well, ain't that a relief?
Yes.
Yeah. What's with the crash sash, friend?
The crash sash. Oh, he looks down. He's like, "Oh, haha, the crash sash. Yes, very good." He's like, "Well, I assume you've all heard of Crash."
Nope.
We heard. Well, we saw it.
They say something about assuming. It makes an ass out of you and me. So why don't you just tell us what that means right now, please?
Peace, friend, peace, calm. My good sir, there's, making asses out of oneself's goodness. Can't we just talk about this? Crash, of course, my friends, is the collective researching alternative systems of harmony. We are.
I'd shorten that up too if it was me.
Yes, it can be a bit of a mouthful, but Crash, I think, rolls right off the tongue. And I'm surprised you've not heard of us. We are the premier peacekeeping force here in Playdeen, and our role is, of course, to intervene in conflict wherever it may occur and try to find a more equitable solution.
Well, that seems like a virtuous enough venture. What were you intervening betwixt just down the hill yonder?
Well, I don't know that I have to share that with you, sir. If you don't mind me being slightly impertinent, it matters not now. The respective parties reached an accord and have gone their separate ways with, I'm happy to say, no loss of life, and he kind of gestures to his own face. Only minor scrapes of any kind, I'm happy to announce.
Yes.
Look hurtful.
Can I do an insight check?
What you trying to establish?
Let me think about how to twist, because like I don't. It just seems really suspect to Jeb. I think that he's not forthcoming with something that like that. Like what exactly was? Maybe he doesn't want us to get involved, or I don't know.
The curse of D&D is great. I've already just put like a group of people way out of your way from where you were going, and you're like, yeah, let's just go fucking talk to him, see what's going on, you know. and now it's like, but yeah, you know, give me an insight check. Let's see it.
Okay, I'm just curious. Yeah, I guess just to see if there's anything to be taken from the way he's acting.
I'm going to say a success on this is a 15.
Oh, hang on, I need to clear. Okay. A 15. All right, cool. Thank you for.
No, you know what? A 12. A 12. It's a 12. Success.
Oh, okay. Hoi!
Even better.
19.
Yeah.
Right. Damn.
It's strange, given that he's got the visible signs of somebody having perhaps punched him in the face. He seems on the level. Like he's not shaking or like being edgy or twitchy. He speaks quite confidently. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll say, well, that seems like a noble venture. So.
I'm delighted to hear you say that. Did you say you said you were going to Midgin?
We did.
Yes.
Well,
We're
what a
looking
happy
for
coincidence. I am myself a resident of Midgin, and I am now on my way home. Perhaps I can help to steer you back on course and get you to Midgin safely. And, you know, if I happen to share a little information about Crash along the way, I don't suppose that would be to anybody's detriment, would it?
Maybe Crash can help in Oakenford as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In Oakenford,
maybe.
is there trouble, conflict, people at each other's throats, threatening violence?
No, maybe before you go to Oakenford, change the name. I think Crash isn't a good thing to come into an Oakenford right now.
Well, listen, we paid a marketing consultancy a significant amount of gold to research the ideal name for Crash, and this is where they landed. I think this has been, you know, it's not something we just threw together in overnight. This is something that we, you know, have put a lot of time and thought into. So, input appreciated. However, I think the name of Crash will stay. Besides which, we do have quite a lot of collateral and merchandise these days. So it's, you know, it'd be a whole rebranding exercise. We'd have to enlist this marketing consultancy again, and I'm not sure we've really got the funds for it right now.
Might not be all very good to the people who got hurt by the crash fight.
And what crash is this? Something in Oakenford? Somebody causing trouble? Was it smashing windows?
No, you didn't see anything?
Friend, a meteorite crashed through the heavens directly into the town.
Well, we were a little way.
More than
Go ahead, Al.
half died.
Yeah, I reckon you might be a little far to see it, but it was big.
I'm afraid I've been out here most of the day as well, resolving. He kind of gestures back over his shoulder. All this business.
Yeah, he goes getting whooped on.
But come, tell me more. What? So there was some kind of crash, a crash in Oakenford, and many have died. That's awful.
Well, let's walk and talk. We need to get on to town. Time is of the essence. So I've kind of start in that direction, assuming that he's going to follow along, as well as Alanthorn.
In the interest of clipping along, I'll assume that you bring this fellow up to speed on all that's befallen. I assume, in fact, before you head off, he would like, well, if we are to be road companions, I suppose it would be good if we were to know one another's names. I'm Bogfort Swizz of Crash.
All right. Pleasure to make your acquaintance, friend.
And who might you be?
Well, my name's all right.
Well, I'm perfectly happy with mine as well. And what is it?
It's not going to get old anytime soon.
Never.
That's the name.
I love it.
All right.
Yes! Right. Well then, he turns to Thorn. He's like, let's try with you, see if we can get a little further.
Just Thorn.
Just Thorn. Okay, so we've got someone and Just Thorn, and turns to Jeb. He's like, well, and your name?
And my name is Caldwell Jebediah Bilius Persephone Friend. But friend, you can call me Jeb. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Oh, my fine fellow. That is a name of great honor. I would never ever see, unless you have an objection to it. 2 seconds, I'm getting a notification. Thank you to new followers. He says, unless you are staunchly against it, so I would much prefer to call you by Caldwell, your given name.
Friend, that's all right with me. It ain't focus tested or nothing, but I'm mighty fond of it. Just for most people, it's a bit of a mouthful. You understand?
Yes. Well, so Caldwell, Just Thorn, and your friend here.
Ow.
Huh?
Ow.
His name is actually
Where?
all right. All right.
When you say owl, he looks behind himself. He's like, they shouldn't be out at this time of day.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Introductions made. You guys head back towards the road. As you are walking along, I guess you would catch him up on everything that happened that morning in Oakenford. Is there anything, any particular element of the story that you want to definitely make sure they're aware of, or indeed, perhaps more personally, is there anything that you don't want them to know about that you would leave out of the story?
There's one
good
thing
question.
I would definitely, seeing as he wants to be there for people, I would want to mention that the people are helping each other, and help is needed, more help is needed than can be provided at the moment. And
Yeah.
maybe leave out that we know the what was his name?
Asmonos, the god.
Hey, leave the god out and leave the senator out.
Okay. When you're talking to him about that people are pitching in and helping each other, and that everyone's sort of trying to do their part, he smiles and is like, well, that's wonderful to hear. There's not enough of that in the world, frankly. Honestly, in places where there is peace, Crash need not go. Our role really is in those places where conflict arises. Our role is to try, name one thing in this world that cannot be solved by more talking. Slowing down, listening to one another, finding a compromise or a solution.
I think you can help with that Caraman lady.
And who's that, sorry?
Oh,
one of the rich ladies that didn't want to help.
She's being violent, is she?
Yeah, she's like, I'm rich, but I'm not going to help, or you have to pay for it. Well, there are people that have nothing anymore, so you
Oh.
probably can talk some
Yeah.
senses in her.
Yeah, she's being a bit callous toward people that are very much in need.
I hate to sound like a bother. This conversation is maybe now going on. You've perhaps gone past that signpost and now on the road towards Midgin. He says, I wouldn't ever want to be mistaken for being obstructive. I just want to make it clear that Crash's skills are in the diffusing of violent tensions. If she is merely being, a difficult person, I and Weird Crash, it's not something that we're really able to resolve. Our strength, you see, is in encouraging discourse where violence threatens to disrupt the order of things, if you see what I mean.
Thorn rolls with his eyes.
Yeah, you don't. All due respect, friend, you seem nice enough, but also you don't seem like you're gonna be much help to us at all. we ain't fighting, but you understand that these kind of circumstances can create violence, and we're trying to assuage a lot of pain that people are in.
And when that day comes, Crash will be first on the scene, I assure you. But we cannot be everywhere at once, you see, and we must prioritize those places where violence really is imminent, where we can, as I have done today, place myself in between those parties and say, no more of this. Can't we just talk about it?
And
What were they fighting about? Why are you so cagey about it?
They talk to each other now?
Well, I don't think they're going to be going round each other's houses for supper, necessarily, but importantly, they both groups left and went home. It was just a trifling turf war, but luckily Crash was on the scene and were able to diffuse things and get them to just talk.
Well, we appreciate your walking with us, getting us back toward Midgin and on our way, but yeah, I think once we get there, I'd hate to pull you out of fields in the middle of nowhere to actually help people that really need it. So we may have to part ways.
Well, as I say, the life of Crash is a busy one. I'm certain that there'll be requests for our help by the time even that I return to Midgin. I only left this morning. He says, Midgin really can be the epicenter of violence in the land of Pleiadian. We're really at the coalface of danger in Midgin.
What kind of danger is Midgin in?
Owl, since you asked, give me a history check. DC on this one is 8.
History.
Jeb is so unimpressed with this guy.
22 clears
Just
it.
so unimpressed.
His cup runneth over. This guy just told you that Midgin was the epicenter of danger in the land of Pleiadian. You know that is the furthest fucking thing from the truth. Like, the little that you've heard of Midgin, growing up in Pagona's Rest, it's just a tiny little village, a very peaceful one. The idea that Midgin is at the epicenter of danger or violence, or that it is often befallen by significant problems of that sort, to be complete bullshit.
What danger is Midgin in? That changed in I guess in 2 weeks they changed a lot.
Well, no. Midgin has always been at the very heart of the political goings-on in Pleiadian, and that has brought many foul and fair-looking beasts to our door, let me assure you.
Political going-ons? You mean Ravenport?
It was
An Iron Clan?
It was not even a year ago that we had the very famous incident of the extremely nasty dog that got out, and that dog barked at the door of Rygo and Lygo for it must have been 3 to 4 hours. It was dreadful, but Crash was there.
They got aggressive?
Well, it was barking for a very long time. That's what I say.
But you also said you can't help in Oakenford because there was no aggression there. So was there aggression with the dog?
Well, Crash made a judgment call that there was imminent danger to the peoples of Midgin from this extremely, I would say, irritable dog. I hesitate to use the word as strong as irritable, but that's the reality of the situation.
How many members are there in Crash? How big an organization we talking about here?
Well, that is really, confidentiality records and so on. I can't really, the Crash is a growing organization. And
it's just you.
Is it?
I'm going to interrupt him and say, is it just you?
Is it just me, or is it just you? I don't know why you'd be asking if you're the only member of Crash.
I'm gonna get in his face and be aggressive. In an attempt to intimidate. I'll be like, now look here, friend. All I'm hearing is you just about useless. Dealing with dogs, you ain't nothing but a glorified homeowners association. You dealing with helping folks scrapping out in the field in the middle of God knows where over God knows what, and you won't even say. Now look, there's a town of people, and I'm like really getting heated, like I said, like as big as I am bigger than him, but that doesn't really matter. I'm gonna get in his face, be like, there is a town of people that need more help than your useless little ass gonna do. And if that's the case, then you need to go on. You might need to walk back the way you came from, because I'm about to smack you upside the head.
Well, there's good news, folks, and that is that homeowners associations are now canon in Playdeen.
Shit.
Jeb, give me an intimidation roll.
Right. Oh man. Oh, I'm not an intimidating person. I should have thought about this. Come on, dice. Fuck. 9.
On a 9, Bogfort Swizz, this member of Crash, an organisation of unknown numbers of members,
Yeah.
and not yet, as yet, not established number of members. He sort of frowns while Jeb is going off, and then he just sort of begins nodding. Like, the longer this goes on, he starts nodding more and more vigorously. And just as he did when he was first approaching, holds his hands up and waits for a moment where Jeb takes a breath and just goes, "Good sir," puts one hand on Jeb's shoulder. It's like, "Can't we just talk about this?"
We tried talking.
Can I knock him unconscious?
Can you knock him unconscious? I don't know, can you?
Just with the back of my hand axe or something, or just with my hands?
Okay, give me an attack roll.
The back of the back.
Oh.
It's a bit embarrassing, really. Thorn is
Shifty.
sufficiently perturbed by this. Was that a 2 on the dice?
It was.
2 on the dice.
Is sufficiently annoyed by this guy that he takes his weapon and swings. As he does so, Bogfort kind of takes an additional step towards Jeb. Is he going for a hug? Looks like he might be going for a hug, but whatever his intentions, this step forward causes Thorn to just fucking whiff completely and just catch nothing but air with the pommel strike that they were trying to do. He sort of senses this arm coming down behind him and whips round. It's like, oh my goodness, imminent violence. This is a moment for Crash to shine. Listen, all of you.
Sir, there was a fly. He was trying to swat a fly. Don't.
Is that right? Give me a deception check.
This has gone completely off the rails.
No, it hasn't. Because there are no rails in this game.
That's right. That's why it's the best game ever
20.
made. Fuck, I love it so much.
On a 20, he's like, you were well, then I must apologise. I obviously had been caught up a little bit in a slight bit of tension that I was experiencing from this fine ratfolk fellow. I thought, and forgive me, my good orcish friend, that you were threatening immediate violence against me, and if that's you obviously were dealing with some kind of small pest. I completely apologise. Come, friends, listen, we have much to discuss, and I think it would be better if I can show you the Crash headquarters back at Midgin, and I think you'll understand more there.
Let's see.
Thorn rolls with his eyes again.
Yeah.
Thorn, slightly embarrassed by having fucking missed with the swing.
I'll find to Thorn. Stay calm.
Cool. So, anything else? Anything else that you guys want to do before you hit the road towards Midgin once again?
I think Jeb would kind of hands up to kind of take a step back from the situation, take a breath real quick, and say, "All right, now, Mister, our time is precious, and we'll go and we'll look at your headquarters. But I gotta be plain and straight up with you. If you ain't gonna help us, we're gonna be parting ways because we need people that are actually going to render some assistance to some people that actually need it, that ain't breaking up schoolyard fights in front of the schoolhouse. We can leave you to that. I'm sure that's a very noble venture, but we need somebody with a little more backbone."
Well, I don't identify with the description you've painted of me at all. I believe Crash is an extremely noble and honourable and gallant organisation. But I will say this, we cannot at all times help everyone. And while I don't believe from what you've described that our skills are yet appropriate in Oakenford, I don't suppose that's the end of how I could be of assistance. For example, have any of you actually been to Midgin recently?
No, but we've battled some zombies in Oakenford. They were quite aggressive, but we'll get to Midgin first.
I'm not talking about the possibility of meeting monsters on the road, though of course it's always possible. The reason I ask is I would like to know who you think you're going to speak to there. Do you know anybody in Midgin?
Well, we know about Pickwick, the Forge Master.
You know Pick?
We know Pick.
Oh. Well,
We have similar friends.
similar friends.
Yeah.
Well, a friend of Pick's is certainly an acquaintance of mine at the very least. He goes, "Well,
I'm
come.
super confident in it.
I will take you right to him then, and then let our paths depart from one another for the time being. But despite the slightly ill-tempered reception I've received from you as a group, I want you to know that Crash does not discriminate and does not play favourites, is not a political organisation. Should you ever find that you are in danger and violence is coming to you imminently, Crash may well be there to help if we can. And I hope that should that day come, that you will look upon us more favourably.
Well, if Al ever accidentally takes my sleeping bag and I need it back, I'll give you a call.
Who you gonna call? Not Crash.
Right. Well, to Midgeon then. The road goes ever on and on, and it's now, I guess, something like 6 hours since you set off from Oakenford. The day is waning on, and it's now the kind of late afternoon, around sort of 5 p.m. sort of time. And the terrain around this area once again becomes kind of slightly hilly, and it becomes apparent that these hills offer a degree of natural protection to Midgeon. You know, it's somewhat concealed by these hills that are around it. While you're on the road, just before we get there, is there anything that you want to ask this? I know that he hasn't necessarily endeared himself to the group that well, but is there anything you want to ask him about Midgeon or anything before you get there?
I will trust this guy as far as I can throw him, and that will not be far. So.
Well, you could probably throw him quite far. You're a lot bigger.
You probably could, I reckon.
True.
Maybe you throw better than you swing at axe.
Yeah.
I can try.
No.
You could
I
also
would,
German accent.
Yeah. I would say offhand. I say, Mr. Bogfort, just out of curiosity, does the name Great Wolf mean anything to you?
Great Wolf.
That's right.
Well, the Forest of Tarren contains a lot of wolves, but I don't think I've ever heard of one in particular being singled out. But if you're looking for wolves, that's probably the place to go. I should warn you that wolves do tend to be a little violent, and if you go willingly, it's difficult for me to go if you're knowingly going and walking into danger. You know, we're more really about trying to avoid things, spilling over unexpectedly.
Well, you're getting more and more useful by the minute. I'm telling you. I'm just going to keep walking.
Was that useless, I heard?
I meant to say useful, but useless came out. Call it a Freudian slip.
Huh. Well, thank you. We do our best to warn travellers of the dangers. But yes, wolves in the Forest of Tarren is certainly the nearest place that I know of where they gather in large groups. But yes, I can't say that I've ever heard of one being referred to as especially great or notable. But there may be others in Midgeon who know more.
All right. Thank you.
Is there also a church in Midgeon? Or a holy person?
Of course. The House of Corvus exists in Midgeon. And Bishop Morningfall is the heads up the church, the House of Corvus there.
Want to check up on the church?
Well, she's right next to the House of Corvus is pretty well right next to Pick's forgery. So forge. So he's like, so you won't be too far out of the way.
Great, we'll head there immediately.
All right then. So a little further time passes, and it's certainly getting to that crossover period where we're not quite sure if it's still the afternoon or is now the evening, as you finally emerge from between these hills, and the road sort of bends round, and then what opens out before you is this kind of clearing that is sort of surrounded almost on all sides by kind of elevated land, so it is kind of quite tucked away. The setting sun is beginning to kind of disappear behind the starting to sink behind the hills to the west, and in fact off in the distance you can actually see the beginnings of the mountains of Caprice far off, and it's actually behind them that the sun begins to set, casting this warm golden light across the ground in front of you. And as you step out from between these hills, sure enough you can see a small village, a stone bridge in front of you that crosses a brook, and on the other side you can see just a really small village. As you walk across the bridge and start to head into the town, the first thing that is quite apparent is, as we kind of already mentioned, it's very peaceful. It's very quiet. The houses are very nicely put together. Everything's clean. The ground's clean. There's no weird smells. There's actually the faint smell of jasmine and just like a fresh, fragrant smell to the place that, Oakenford definitely more of a kind of mixed bag. And although, of course, it had that wealthier area, which was, comparatively unscathed by the meteorite, it was, certainly a working class place, a lot of traders and a lot of workers. This has the feel of a kind of wealthier, like an old English village, I guess, is quite sort of well-to-do. There's not a lot of buildings, and therefore there's not a lot of people. Hopefully you can read these things, but just in case, I'll run through everything that's marked on the map. And as you walk through the town, these would perhaps be the places that Bogfort is pointing out to you. He's like, here we have Wendy Menz, so if you've got anything that needs repairing, she can help you with that. We've got there's another place that's not marked on the map, actually. It points to another little kind of boutique shop and says this is Mabel Eanes store. She is very into the sort of the fashion business, if that's of interest to you. As you reach the centre, there's this lovely fountain that's operational in the centre, and he kind of looks around away to the north and points out to a tavern. He says, "The Wyvern there, of course, if you need somewhere to stay. I assume you will." And then pointing away to the right of the Wyvern, it's like, and there's Midgin Manor, where you'll find Magistrate Bass if you need to speak with him. I think you probably will need to at some point if you're looking for help. And then he points across to the west of the town, where the setting sun is going down behind the hills, and says, and there, of course, is the House of Corvus. Pix Forge is just the other side of these buildings here, and points to the northwest, and yes. And then pointing away to the southwest, he says, and, well, that's the headquarters of Crash over there. So if you are interested in finding out more, that's where I shall be. It has been, well, an experience to have met you. And I wish you well in your ventures. And should you ever be in danger, just call for Crash.
All right, you take care now.
So he heads off towards the Crash headquarters in the southwest of the town or village. Where are you headed? What do you want to do?
I think we have to go to Midgin Manor, to the smithy and to the House of Corvus, but not particularly in that order.
What do you
Maybe
what do you
just
feel is the most
wine.
what do you feel is would be either what's the most useful or the most pressing, or what do you where do you want to go?
We need help, so probably Midgeon Manor.
Yeah,
So they can
I
send
agree.
an A team to Oakenford.
Yeah, okay. So you head towards Midgeon Manor, and it's this. It's not. It's not ostentatious. It's not like over the top in how put together it is, but it's a nice little manor house, like a kind of farmhouse almost, with a big sturdy red door that is facing you.
Before we enter Midgeon Manor, Al will clap Thorn on the back as a sort of comfortable well done. And when he touches Thorn, he'll cast Prestidigitation to hopefully get a bit of the dirt gone from Thorn.
Love it.
Just a little bit, like Thorn won't notice it, but he's a little bit cleaner.
Love it.
Like multiple pats. Really good. Great work.
So,
Thanks, Thorn.
great work, buddy. So there's a large sturdy red door in front of you.
I just knock on the door.
Yeah.
Literally about half a second after you knock, the door is like pulled open, like really abruptly, and a small a halfling is stood there in front of you, and she has like blonde hair in plaits, and is wearing just like a cute little, just like a summer dress kind of thing. She opens the door and goes, "Can I help you?"
Well, good evening, ma'am. We are here. We were hoping we could speak to the magistrate.
The magistrate? Do you have an appointment?
Yes, ma'am. Well, no, but we are here on an urgent matter out of
Sorry, appointment
Oakenford.
only. She shuts the door.
Knock, knock, knock.
Yes, can I help you?
Now, hang on a second. Now,
Have you heard about Oakenford? About the trouble in Oakenford?
I wouldn't know anything about that. Can I help you?
Well, yeah, Oakenford is struck tragically. We need help from Midgeon. We need to talk to the magistrate.
Do you have an appointment?
Where can we make an appointment?
With me. But I'm afraid business hours for today are closed. Can you come back in the morning?
How late are you opening?
We are open between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Okay, we'll come back at 10.
Thank you, goodbye. She closes the door.
Jesus Christ.
I turn to Jep and Al and like, we're not going to do this, and knock again on the door.
Hello, can I help you?
I just
Every time she opens the door, it's as if she's seeing you for the first time. Like, there appears to be no recognition of the prior conversations that you've had.
So I just pull the door open and step inside. Like,
Oh.
we want to talk to the magistrate.
Help me, magistrate, help!
a picture of
Talk
Thor
to the
like, picking
manager.
her up and carrying her in.
She
Stepping over him.
she looks extremely
Yeah, just-
panicked. Yeah, just walking over her head.
Excuse me.
She's extremely panicked. She goes, magistrate, help me! There's people here. Help! And she runs to the corner of the room, where there's a little door, and it's just like it's like a corner of a room, almost just like the size of like a small wardrobe, right? And she opens the door and closes it behind her, and you hear 4 locks being locked. Behind, like 4 heavy-duty locks being locked, and then she, you notice that the door has like an eye shutter, like a slider thing, and she opens the shutter, and you can just see her eyes. It's at halfling height, and she goes, "That was very mean!" And then she starts ringing a bell inside the wardrobe, and just like ringing this loud bell, and just keeps ringing it. For a few seconds, nothing really seems to happen. Is there anything you want to do in the immediate aftermath of her locking herself in a panic room and ringing a bell?
Walk in and close the door behind us.
I fasten my morning star on my arm, just to be sure.
Thorn prepares for the sort of incident that Crash might get involved in.
Yeah, and then hide it just slightly behind my back. So.
And Owl shuts the door behind you.
When I turn around, I see Thorn putting on a morning star. Thorn, that's not very welcoming for the magistrate. Just saying.
Yeah.
We need to talk to this guy. Just let him come to us.
Okay.
So the three of you, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Jeb would actually call out, kind of like a, "Hello, we're here from Oakenford on an emergency. We desperately need to speak to the magistrate. Is there anyone here that can help us, please?"
After a few seconds of well, I was going to say silence, but the bell is being rung a lot. You hear a voice. There's across on the other side of the room. There's a staircase that kind of winds round, like goes around 2 corners and up. The inside of this room, by the way, is not dissimilar to what the interior of Senator Pangborn's house was like. It's quite well put together. There's a decent sized table. There's a hearth and a big fireplace. A couple of comfortable chairs there. It's a comfortable living space, and quite sort of open. Wood beams everywhere. Nice place. And let's change the music up. I'm bored of this one. Sorry, just fucking.
Are there any paintings or statues in the room we're currently in?
Any paintings or statues? Yes. There's actually a painting of Senator Pangborn hanging on the wall. And then there's a quite nice landscape painting of the town of Midgin. And it appears to have been, if it was painted from life, then it would appear that someone had kind of scaled one of the small hills on the northeast corner of the village and kind of painted from that direction with the House of Corvus off in the background, and it's quite a nice sort of landscape watercolor sort of painting that shows the village sort of nicely set out. No statues. But yeah, some nice paintings of the surrounds, and then, as I say, one painting of Senator Pangborn as well. Above the fireplace, there is a picture of an old-looking a halfling dressed in a quite fine red tunic, with grey hair and a little kind of goatee beard, and he's in this kind of portrait above the fireplace, looking out and kind of surveying the room from this vantage point, and stood in a quite sort of formidable pose, like his hands on his hips and quite sort of upright and looking out to the middle distance kind of thing. That's the sort of painting that it is. After a few moments, you hear a voice come from upstairs and goes, "From Oakenford? Who are you?"
Magistrate Bass, I presume.
"And you are?"
My name, you can call me Jeb. And this is my partner Al and Thorn, and I'll gesture at them and say, we're here on behalf of oh my God, I'm so sorry, names. We're here on behalf of Senator Pangborn. He came to ask us to help with something that has befallen the town. Terrible thing.
Old Pangy, eh?
I'll chuckle and say, yes, sir. If that's how you know him, that's right. Pangy.
You hear the creak of a couple of stairs being walked on, and then from the sort of highest point that you can see on the steps, you just see this little head poke over and kind of look round inquisitively and look at you and goes, "Shit," and then just like withdraws again and pulls back. And the face that you see is the same one in the portrait that you just looked at above the fireplace. It's and then after a few moments, you can just hear the muttering of this guy upstairs, like just muttering. It's like, I fucking know Pangborn, and then Oakenford. Anyway, all right, let's go. And he slowly sort of walks down the steps with this regal air, and you see this halfling descend down the stairs, and he's looking at you the whole time. He just even as he winds around these stairs as he comes down, his gaze is just fixed on you totally the whole time this is going on, but he's got his shoulders back and pushing his chest out a little and just very consciously trying to look very important. And he reaches the bottom of the stairs. You notice as well, he's although despite his attempts to this, he's actually using a walking stick. But he's even trying to make that look quite sort of important and quite regal in the way that he walks with it. And he reaches the bottom of the stairs and goes, "You're here on behalf of Senator Pangborn, you say?"
Yes, sir. And we do apologize. We it is a late hour, but needs must. We needed to have this sorted well before the morning hours. Apologies to your receptionist there in the cupboard.
She is still ringing the bell, and this magistrate calls it. He's like, "Agatine, I've got it! Stop ringing the bell!" And there's you just hear this one final dink. The locks remain locked. The door remains shut. She does not emerge, but the ringing of the bell ceases. He goes, "I did see something this morning, away towards Oakenford. Something in the sky. I assume it's related."
Yes, sir. What you saw fell and struck the town and has caused horrible destruction and lost a life.
But Senator Pangborn lives, you say?
He did. By the gods, thankfully, he sure did. And but we're here on behalf of all those survivors, sir. We're just wondering if there's any help that you can render. It'd be much appreciated. We're looking to towns that are friendly to Oakenford, and he told us first to come here. He said, if any, and I want to try to do a little persuasion by this too, because I just in the spirit of diplomacy, just say if there was anyone that he told us to come and see. He said you'd be the first one to be able to help us. Whether that's
Oh.
true or not, I'm just trying to persuade him and impress on him that.
Yeah, give me a persuasion check.
Sure. Bug flying around my face.
Oh, Thorn's really good at getting rid of bugs. They use the handle of their axe.
Or help me out. Break my nose. Son of a bitch!
Woof.
God darn it! I know. Man, the dice don't like me today. Well, we'll say while I was doing it, I was swatting at a bug.
Yeah, it didn't lead to the most sort of persuasive thing. He sort of looks a bit weirdly at you with this comment and goes, "Well, Julius may have asked for help from Midgin. I would be surprised if he told you that I'd be any help in particular, but
But you do know Senator Pangborn.
of course,
He's in this painting.
yes, he's a great man. I was very good friends with his father. I suppose I may as well tell you, I was somewhat appointed to this position due to my relationship with his father.
Then use this position to help him now.
Well, I will do all I can. I should warn you. Perhaps I should just come clean about this. How do I... I'm not very well liked in Midgin. And technically, it is in my power to demand that Midgin... I mean, what are they... What do they need? Do they need people? Do they need food? What is it they're in need of?
We need,
Food and medical care.
yeah, we need both of those things. We're gonna have to rebuild. We're gonna have to sow crops again. We need food immediately and medical supplies first and foremost. But any help you can offer would be much appreciated.
The bell that Agatine has been ringing for the last several minutes can be heard across the entirety of Midgin. It is supposed to be the case that when that bell is sounded, that it means that I, the magistrate of Midgin, am in mortal danger. The people of Midgin are supposed to down tools immediately and go with all haste to Midgin Manor in my defense.
Can I part
He
a curtain to look outside?
Certainly, yes. He
Okay.
he goes, "What do you see?"
I go, well,
You don't see jack shit. The town is deserted. There were a couple of people outside when you arrived. They are no longer visible.
I'll kind of mutter to like not anyone in particular. Maybe everyone's having dinner.
Maybe they are. He says, I have the power to instruct the people, the workers of Midgin and our storekeepers who manage our food supplies to offer food and support to our neighbours in Oakenford. Yet I have not the power to enforce it. They won't listen to me. They don't care what I say. You're just as well speaking to them yourselves. If I intervene and try and make them, I think, honestly, they're less likely to abide by it.
Who do they listen to? If
Yeah,
not for
Mr.
you?
Bass. What's the trouble?
No particular trouble. They've never really liked me. I was appointed to the role. I didn't live here before. I lived in Oakenford until I came here some years ago, appointed by the senator's father.
But is there someone they listen to? Like clergy person or?
Yes, well, Bishop Morningfall at the House of Corvus certainly commands some influence.
Also,
And
also the crash people maybe.
Crash. How on earth have you heard of them?
Yeah, well, we met old Bogfort on the road here.
Ah.
Much to our chagrin.
If you're able to get assistance out of them, then I wish you very well in that endeavor.
Well, I don't reckon we will, so thank you just the same.
But yes, and he hangs his head. He goes, "It is not an easy life having to walk around here and act as if I am the magistrate, someone with power and influence and popularity, when honestly, I don't think they'd even notice if I wasn't here."
Do you get out amongst the people? Do you try to participate in community and society?
Of course. I am a regular attendee at the House of Corvus, and I do my best. Well, I'm sure they have their reasons. The other person I suppose they listen to a lot is Ellis Tinflint, who is my deputy. She's much more respected than I am. I suppose I should hang up my boots and pass the title on to her. She'd probably do a better job than me, but, well, it doesn't feel right to Mr. Pangborn. He put me in the role after all.
Are they any kin to Xavier?
Tinflin?
Yeah, are they any kin to Xavier Tinflint down in Oakenfort?
Why, yes, Ellis would be Xavier's sister-in-law. Her husband, Pick, is the Forge Master of Midgen.
Well. While we're here, we're going to be paying old Pick a visit. It's good to know there's more family here.
Well, he looks kind of distracted and just a bit awkward now. He's revealed a lot to you, and the face saying all these things about himself out loud seems to be taking its toll. He says, "Well, I must go back to my whatever it was I was doing." He looks over at the panic room. Is like, "Agatine, come out for goodness' sake, in the name of Corvus."
Thanks
and you
for your
very
openness.
yes, no problem.
It'll be safe with us.
Well, good luck. You begin to hear the sound of locks slowly being opened, and the panic room door is opened very slowly, and Agatine, who's been watching this whole thing through the eye shutter thing, by the way, just like.
I like to imagine the shutter slowly closing, but the whole way she's like,
yeah, the eyes just like
squinty eye, like I'm watching you, I'm on to you. Yeah.
She suddenly flings the door open and bolts upstairs, and the magistrate just sort of shakes his head and says, "Yes, well, very nice to meet you anyway." And he heads upstairs.
All right. Yeah, and I'll kind of call after him, say, "Pleasure to meet you as well, sir. We may, if it's not too much trouble, we may kind of visit you again before we leave town tomorrow."
I can't imagine why you would, but I'll be here.
All right. Well, you have a good night.
he trudges upstairs, leaning on his walking stick. You can see that this isn't an elderly, kind of almost frail guy. The years have not been kind to him, and he's where he descended the stairs with this upright attempt to look regal. As that conversation's gone on, his posture has just flattened and deflated, and as he goes up the stairs you see that he's very kind of hunched over and looks a lot more world weary than when he first appeared on the staircase to you.
Poor feller.
Yeah, I sort of feel for him.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's find someone useful because I'm done with this.
Thorn has not liked anyone that you've met today. Thorn has met the Rubriquerques, Magistrate Bass, and Bogfort, and just fucking hates all of them.
I love it. Everyone is a distraction.
So where to, gang?
Honestly. Well, maybe first the Wyvern to see if they have a room.
I'm of a mind, like, because I definitely think we need to get a room sooner rather than later. But if it's not too late yet, I think it'd be worth maybe going ahead and going to talk to Pickwick.
Yeah, Pickwick sounds like a great idea, especially because his wife is also a good person to have some influence on people here and get some aid.
Yeah.
Maybe she can be useful.
Maybe she can.
Yeah.
So heading towards Pickwick, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So.
Before you do that, I think now would be a good time for us to just take a little break. So let's take a little comfort break and go and grab a drink, have a wee, do whatever you need to do, have a snack, and I'll put everybody... Yeah, we had just spoken with the magistrate, a fellow of, I think fair to say, having some self-esteem issues and feeling not as powerful as his title might suggest, is fair to say. But I believe that you have decided to head up to see Pickwick Tinflint, the Forge Fellow. Is there anything that you would like to do before doing that? Well, I guess you're kind of just leaving the Midgeon Manor.
Mm-hmm. Make sure to close the door when we're leaving.
That's very, what's her name's upstairs now, so you're going to have to do it. Agatine is run upstairs. So, nobody asked. It might not come up again, but her last name's Waggle, so something to think about. Agatine Waggle. Anyway,
very good.
Good. As you step out into the village and begin to make your way, the bell having now stopped sounding, a couple of people seem to be sort of tentatively coming back out of their homes again and resuming whatever it was they were doing before the bell rang. One sound that you can hear off in the distance and the way that you're going actually is that sound of metal on metal, a forge hammer, tink, 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 rhythmically going on. As you kind of round the corner, you pass. You know what? You tell me which route you want to go. Do you want to cut through town and hang a right by the House of Corvus, or do you want to go up the side, like behind the Wyvern?
Behind the Wyvern is the fastest route, I think.
It is a bit quicker for sure. So you pass some farmland. A couple of people are out in the in a field doing something or other, tending to some crops. And then you pass this as you're heading up towards the to Pickwick's forge and dwelling, you pass this little workshop building. There's a house that's kind of under construction as well. You can see the kind of timbers laid out with a house being constructed and a little crane kind of device, a machine there. And then this workshop on the right that has a little sign outside that just says Rygo and Ligo on it, and two faces that are depicted on the sign. But as you walk past this, there are no signs of life, and you just hear the tink, tink, tink get louder and louder as you come closer. And what you can see is this open space behind. You've got two buildings. One of them is like a small house, and one of them is clearly some kind of garage workshop type building that that sits side by side. And then behind that, you can see this open space which bears the evidence of like a yard, like a workshop yard with various materials strewn about the place. And the sound that you can hear is coming from the back, where you can actually see built into the kind of cliffside almost. It's like the ground's almost been carved away. This quite impressive looking forge. It's bigger than a kind of standard blacksmith's forge. Not as big as the kind of industrial things that you might think some kind of dwarven community might have, but a sizable bit of work anyway. And at this forge, you can see a tall, with his back to you, a tall and broad figure who's holding in a pair of tongs in his left hand. As you get closer, it appears to be some kind of like plate metal, like maybe perhaps fashioning some armor. And sure enough, with the right hand swinging a hammer, tink, 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 and then the sound of them putting things back in the forge and tending to this piece. As you walk across the yard, he looks over his shoulder and spots you. He's wearing a kind of like a visor, a metal visor to offer some protection. And he clocks you and immediately drops everything and holds out a hand. And over the noise of the forge, you just hear, "Stop there, please. It's very dangerous here. Do not come any closer, please."
I'll stop.
He's wearing quite heavy-duty gloves, and he takes these gloves off and throws them on the ground and lifts the visor up, and you can now see a guy who certainly bears a passing resemblance to Xavier Tinflint. This is an elf. He has no hair. He's bald. And as I say, quite a broad guy, a stocky, tall but quite broad and as well, a well-fed sort of fellow. And he comes across his yard towards you. So, "Are you here to make an order? How can I help?"
We're looking
We're
for
here.
Pickwick.
Yeah.
"Call me Pick. What can I do for you?"
Well, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Mr. Pick. We're here from Oakenfort. First of all, your brother says hello,
He says hello.
and that'll be important to know because there was a disaster there today. I don't know if news has come to you yet. Seems like some folks here in town may have seen it, but a meteorite struck Oakenfort and has caused some horrible damage and loss of life. Thankfully, your brother's one of those that survived. but he made sure to tell us to come and see you and let you know that he's safe. We're here looking for aid. Do you know of anyone in town might be able to help us?
Hold on. One thing at a time.
That was a lot of information. I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I've understood. There was a disaster.
If
in
you need to sit
Oakenford,
down. That's right.
and my brother says hello.
Well, I realize now that that was quite a casual way to begin the conversation, but it's more that he wanted us to relay to you that he is safe and okay.
All right. Anything else?
Well, yeah, we're here in town trying to take care of or find some aid, food, and able-bodied people to help rebuild, and medical supplies. Do you know of anyone here in town that might be able to help us with that?
Well, I suppose the magistrate might be willing to help.
Well, you'd think that, wouldn't you? But he seemed not too inclined. He was pointing us to the House of Corvus, but we ain't met too many folks here that have been too helpful just yet.
Well, people in Midgin can be helpful if you're the right person. For example, at the House of Corvus, my reception would be received very unenthusiastically. I'm not even someone that the bishop would help. However, I'm not surprised, I suppose, that the magistrate has directed you elsewhere, considering he is completely useless.
You mind speaking on that? I must say, that seems about par for the course for most folks we've met here so far.
You can ask anyone in town. He's completely ineffective, completely indecisive. Anytime there's been any sort of incident in Midgin, no matter how small, he's completely failed to handle it. It's not clear to me what it is he does.
I see what you mean. You look to be a man of action, I must say.
Well, you don't really know me, but I do my best. Now let me ask you something. My brother asked you to come and speak to me, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Patriot said to tell you he was still alive.
Hmm.
Do not have you worry about him.
Worry about him? Well, I think that's highly unlikely, but... Well, fine then. He catches a look at... he sort of stops himself and he looks at the three of you and goes, has anyone ever told you make quite an unusual looking group?
I'll look back and forth from from Al and Thorn.
We're only a group for one day. As
Like,
of...
group?
Well,
I like, you know,
just a strange
I think
sight
we're all right.
is all.
I suppose we might be.
He looks at Thorn and at Thorn's arm and points at it and goes, this though, this is exquisite work. Who did this?
My stepson.
Your stepson? How old is he?
Yes, he's almost 30 now.
Oh, 30. And but was he 30 how old was he when he made this?
He was 16.
16. May I inspect this more closely?
If you are careful with it.
I assure you, I I work with metal all day. This is what I do. This is the first time that he hasn't exactly had a hostile demeanour, but quite sort of blank. He didn't really react to the news that his brother's alive. This is the first time that you've seen him become quite sort of enthused. He gently takes Thorn's arm, and this is strong metal that he's picking up, right? That he's supporting, but he touches it as if it's made of the thinnest glass. He so delicately rests it on his fingertips and begins to just inspect really closely the joins and everything about the way that this thing has been constructed, and just shakes his head and just sort of whispers under his breath, remarkable. A 16-year-old. Well, forgive me. I always do enjoy taking an interest in my own craft. I can tell you for sure that at the age of 16 I would not have been able to make something like this. And my brother, well, he wouldn't be able to make it now. Nor will he ever, I suspect. Anyway, he says, you are in need of some assistance, and yes, of course. One moment. Ellis? Ellis? And he calls to the house. After a few seconds, the back door of the house opens, and you see a human woman, and she's wearing a long floor-length dress, and sort of a little bonnet on her head. And in her arms, you see that she's holding a young child of perhaps a year old. And she kind of opens the door and looks and sees Pick talking to the three of you, and strides out across the yard. She's quite tall and looks to be, well, give me do I need a roll from you? Maybe not. She has quite a fair face, and mousy brown hair that you can see kind of jutting out under this bonnet. And as she's coming across the yard, she actually removes the bonnet, and just kind of tucks it under her arm with this young child. So this child, you can see, is half elven. And is kind of sucking their thumb, and kind of have nestled their head into the shoulder of this woman as she comes across the yard and looks at the three of you with kind of shy eyes, and as she arrives, she looks at the three of you and says, "Good evening. Pick, is everything all right?" "Yes. They need help for Oakenford. The thing we saw this morning, it was some kind of disaster. They need help. They've already spoken to the magistrate, but obviously, you know how that went." And she's like, "I'm sure the magistrate would do everything he could. He has some problems getting people to listen to him, I'm afraid. He does his best."
Well, you're speaking more kindly of him than he speaks of himself.
Yes, that doesn't surprise me. He's been worn down over many years, I'm afraid. But listen, I was raised never to speak ill of any, and his role is much more challenging than some suspect, and they don't necessarily know all that he does for this town.
Well,
She goes, but there was a disaster in Oakenford. What about Xavier? Is he alive? Is he all right?
Yes, ma'am. Thankfully, he is.
Yes, he's fine. He's fine. Don't worry.
sadly, not a lot of people in Oakenford are still alive. That town is quite literally destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very nearly wiped off the map.
Pick turns to Ellis and says, are you able to do something? Can you arrange to get some kind of care packages starting to be put together? Yes, of course. Yeah, it's no problem. I can get that sorted out. I'll begin immediately. She says, is the senator alive?
Yes, ma'am, he is. He's the one that sent us here. Told us to he sent out groups to the nearest neighbors on all points and sent us here, especially being one of the closest, hoping that we could get, as you say, care packages of medical supplies and food. And eventually we're going to need men to help rebuild and sow the fields.
She looks at Pick and goes, Will you go, darling? I would rather not, but if I don't have to talk to my brother, I'll go.
Mr. Pick, I'm going to step forward a little bit and just say, I know you're just meeting us and all, and it may not be our business, but you don't seem too concerned about the well-being of your brother or the town. I know if it was me and my holler, something happened to my cousin, I'd be upset. And that ain't even one of my siblings. But so it's a bit beyond me. Is there anything like what happened between you two?
Look, I don't want him dead or anything. I just don't. He goes and quickly puts his hands over the ears of his child and is like, I just don't particularly care that he lives. That's all. Families
That's a mighty sad thing.
Families are challenging, and I haven't seen or spoken to my brother in 8 years. I don't really intend to start now.
Well, what
It's
happened?
just blood. Just leave it.
What was that, Thorn?
It's just blood. You don't choose your family, so just leave it. Let let him have no contact with his brother.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I wish him no ill will. I hope his quote-unquote smithing business continues to, well, if not thrive, then exist. And I will come to Oakenford if required and lend a hand where possible. I simply wish to have no contact with my brother. Ellis is kind of looking down while he's talking about this and just looks a bit disappointed, you know. She, in an attempt to change the subject, she says, well, in the meantime, I'll go and speak with the store managers and arrange for us to get some food parcels put together and sent to Oakenford. Do you have any transport or anything? You have a cart?
No.
I got this. I'll hold out the bag of holding.
She looks down at the bag and is like, and goes, well, that's very good, but I think we'll need to send things a little quicker. I can arrange for a horse and cart to take things to Oakenford. I assume they're in quite dire need.
I would say so, ma'am. The most dire. And you're being very hospitable, and we sure appreciate your kindness. Thank you. The people of Oakenford will appreciate it as well.
She turns to Pick and goes, we're not going to have enough here, you know. Like, Midgeon's too small. We produce enough to feed ourselves. She looks at her husband and says, do you think the elves might help? Pick's eyes like widen at this question, and he sort of scoffs. It's like, the elves can barely help themselves. I highly doubt they're going to be queuing up to send aid to across the land of Playdeen, given everything. Do you?
Would we know just geographically, like where they would hail from, like where his the elves would be coming from?
For sure. As a result of the Crimson War, the vast majority of elves in Playdeen fled to Velaryon in the north, which is not definitely a distance from where you are, but you know you're kind of in the right region of Playdeen at least. It's the other side, you know. You keep following that north road that you started out from Oakenford on. Jeb has probably been to Velaryon on his travels, making deliveries. I suspect, and so yeah, that would be. I think you would assume that when she says, would the elves help? That's what she means. That she means would Velaryon help? But of course, they are there. They are exiled there. So his response, it's not, other than perhaps Thorn, who perhaps doesn't have as great an understanding of the politics of the region, it would be clear to Jeb and Owl certainly why Velaryon would be unlikely to offer any further assistance. Elves having been exiled to Velaryon, and those that have remained in the other parts of the country are often subject to less favourable treatment and often outright hostility, particularly in Ninespire, Loom, and Ravenport.
Okay, thank you.
So she says,
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
before you go on. What race is Pickwick?
Pickwick is an elf. He is a high elf. He is a wood elf. And Eliz is a human, and therefore their daughter is half elven.
Okay, thanks.
The child in Eliz's arms has been getting a little braver as this conversation's been going on, and she reaches out and grabs Owl, grabs a feather on his face and sort of like reaches and sort of like, and when Eliz spots this, she goes, "Baby Zeva, stop it! Just leave people alone. Stay out of their personal space. My goodness, how many times?"
I'll pick up my arm and out of the wing, somewhere there's a loose feather, and I just pluck it, and give it to the child.
She obviously having just been.
Besides the jerking, he's quite cute.
Having been reprimanded somewhat by her mother, she looks up with these little doe eyes and sort of kind of looks at her mum, who's like, "Go on, he's offering it to you, it's different." And she reaches out tentatively and takes the feather and just looks absolutely fucking delighted. And she like squeals and like, it's like, "Birdie!" Eliz smiles and says, "Thank you, that was very sweet. I'm sure this will lead now to a long-running obsession with birds and feathers. Could be worse."
Sorry.
She says, "So, look, make yourselves at home. Do whatever you need to do. If there's other people you need to go and speak to, I'm going to go and start making some preparations. But look, by the morning, I'm sure we'll have something to send back to Oakenford anyway. It was very nice to meet you.
Thank you for meeting. One more question. Do you have any more places where we could go for help?
In this region, there's not many settlements. You'll get the, individual farms and things like that, and taverns along the road, perhaps. But I don't think any of them would be able to provide much in the way of aid. You're really looking at. I mean, you could try Kitchak. It's a difficult road to get there. They're a very insular community. I have no idea. We really don't have any contact with them even here as their closest settlement. Other than that, you might try. And then she kind of looks at Pick and goes, no, never mind. I think you said that they'd sent people elsewhere as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm. On to, I thought it was Nine Spires.
Yes.
And I forgot where the other group went, but they sent help.
To Doom. They did go to Doom.
Loom?
To Loom.
Oh yeah, that.
Yes. She goes, well, that makes sense. I mean, Nine Spire would be in best position to send aid in bulk, as well as, more hands. Loom are kind of the closest large settlement. Between those three, I hope they'll be able to provide some assistance between those two places in here. I mean,
well, where else was it that you had in mind before you stopped yourself?
Pick intervenes and goes, she wants to go and ask the elves in Valarian. They're too far away, and I don't think they would help anyway.
Well, I've been up and down, back and forth from there a few times myself, peddling my wares, as it were, and I've got my connections there. Might be able to speak with somebody. All the worst they can tell me is no, right?
And what are your wares?
Well, just the finest libation in the nation. You ever heard of Tormist?
Tormist? Yeah, that explains it. That explains why you, well, I'm guessing you've never been here, or not for a long time anyway.
No, sir. There was a time, but I can't quite recall why not. But traffic ended up kind of diverging toward Oakenfort.
He is really amused by this. He turns to Ellis, and they both kind of share a laugh. And he turns back and is like, "Yes, well, Midgin's a dry village, so we'd have no use for it."
I get that impression. I wonder if that's the work of Crash.
Crash, I would be amazed to find had any impact whatsoever on the legislation of Midgin. But hey, it's a day of many surprises, and it seems like the world we knew yesterday may be disappearing before our eyes. So stranger things may have happened.
Jeb's laughing in character. He's like, I'd say you're right. I can't imagine they do too much good for anything. I think they try to dispute the conflict between your hammer and that steel. Trying to break him up from fighting.
I'm sure he did try that once, but only once. Ellis goes, well, look, I have a lot to do. She goes, and that means, and she turns to Pick, she goes, you're in charge of this, and hands their daughter over to Pick, and he's kind of like, oh, like, yes, very good, all right, well, good luck, I suppose. He turns to you and says, is there anything else that I can do for you? I do have work to get back to, if you don't mind.
Well, Do you need help with babysitting your daughter, perhaps?
No, you're not gonna offer that off.
Thorn just stood behind Pick going like this.
Here, I mean,
just
it's a cute kid and all.
Pick sort of
session long babysitting side quests. Let's go.
Pick sort of looks a bit confusedly and goes, "Listen, you seem like good people. I understand you've come here on an errand that had nothing to do with you, and you've done so, and that's a noble venture. We have only just met. I don't really feel comfortable leaving my infant daughter in the hands of 3 complete strangers. I hope you understand."
Yes, we do. I mean, that's
loud and clear.
Just trying to help.
Yes, and I appreciate it. Perhaps the day will come where you can be of some assistance to me, but it is not this day.
Yeah. Now you do very obviously, literally and figuratively have your hands full. But before we go, I did want to ask if the name Great Wolf meant anything to you, sir.
Great Wolf. No, I can't say that it rings a bell. It's an animal or?
Well, it might be an animal. It might be a title. We're not entirely sure, but we've been on a bit of a keeping our eyes open for any information, looking for them. They apparently, we do know that the wolves are around the southern forest Tehran, just north of here.
Yes, that's true. There are definitely wolves in the forest. Look, don't use my name because it will go ill if you mention me, but honestly, the person with the most books, the most book learning, is probably the bishop in the House of Corvus.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you pointing us in the direction there, and I hope you have yourself a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.
He returns to the forge, and with a child in his left hand, he picks up his hammer and then thinks better of it. He plonks his child on a stool and gets a big goes into a little nearby shed and just picks up essentially a cone, a big cone, and just plonks it over her. And you can see that this has a little eye, a glass visor, so that this kid can look out. But basically, he's like, there we go. Picks up his tongs and hammer and goes back to work on this piece of armor.
Perfect.
You see that. Sorry, what do you want? What's happening now? What's going on? What are you doing?
Is it time to get a room in the tavern, or do we first need to go to the House of Corvus, or can we do that tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I was curious about the time. How late would it be at this point?
It's kind of early evening now. It's the sun is almost set. It's beginning to get dark. You can see that from where you are, of course, the House of Corvus has some light on in the window still. But yeah, it's getting to the evening time.
Okay. Well, here's my thinking in character. I reckon that we could get on to the House of Corvus tonight and then go over to the Wyvern, get us a room. And maybe in the morning when we go back and we talk to Ellis, they might be able to load up a cart with all these here supplies, and we can send that cart back to Oakenfort, and maybe we can explore them woods. What do y'all think?
That could be an idea. Maybe even the House of Corvus can help.
They might. That's true. Might be worth speaking to before we do anything else. And I got these, and I reach into my satchel, and I pull out just like a rock. It's just like just a regular old river rock. And I can put a 60-second message on this here thing and send it back with the cart, and it will speak to them whatever message we want to give. If we do decide to stay and explore, kind of let them know what's going on.
wow.
hopefully the cart reaches there safely, but maybe we need to go with it. But that's why I wanted to talk to y'all. What do you think?
Let's figure out the card and the stuff first before we make a decision about how we will send the card to Oakenford.
All right, that sounds good to me.
All right, where to?
To the House of Corvus, then.
I think so. Yeah.
Splendid. Cool. So as you leave Pick's yard, you note the sign on the front of his workshop that says "Pick of the Bunch, Specialist Smithing," and you head on around the corner. Faintly, you can hear a little bit of noise coming from the Wyvern. You know, the evening having set in. There appear to be people meeting there and having some, frivolity. And then, you head around the corner, and the path kind of angles up. It's not terribly visible on this map, to be honest, but it's like an upward slope. The House of Corvus is on a slightly elevated plane of land, kind of overlooking the rest of the town. It's quite a grand building, and looks like it's stood for some time. 2 seconds. Let me just consult something. Owl, because you have proficiency in history, give me a history roll. There is something that you may know, and we'll see on a DC 12 whether you do.
Nope.
Sure don't.
Beans.
What's this Corvus fellow about again?
I think without passing that DC, you're aware that Corvus is the Raven God, which essentially has been. I think you would all know this to some extent. I mentioned it earlier a bit. I think is the monotheism that has been pushed across Playdean since the war, since the Elven King was overthrown, and since the Senate were established. You would all be aware of that. I think that Corvus in Playdean is a pretty new deity that's being worshipped. This building has certainly stood for longer than 24 years, which is how long ago the war ended. As you walk up, it's got a pretty imposing tower that looms over, and you can see that there is light on, but you can't hear the sound of any noise, and you arrive at some pretty grand doors.
We'll knock on the door.
As you take hold of the knocker, the door opens. And you sort of end up knocking while it's opening, quite awkwardly.
Scary at all.
Hello? Someone in?
You hear a voice call from across the other side. It goes, "Hello? May I help you?"
Yeah, we are travelers from Oakenford. We're seeking help.
As you come inside, you see that it's quite a plainly decorated place. There's not a lot of ornament or anything particularly. Nothing sort of ostentatious about the place.
On the map, I see that octagonal chamber is still loading.
Yeah, afraid so. As you go, so you enter on the door on the south side, and in front of you, it's not that easy to see on the image that you can see. There are some benches that go across you're kind of running parallel with them. the front, where if there were a service in this place or some kind of gathering, is on the right hand side. You can see a kind of a table with a blue cloth that bears the emblem of the raven on it, and behind it against the wall is a gold statue of a man with a raven kind of perched on his arm. Across the way from you, it's a really quiet place. You know, there's not, as you come in, you know, you're struck by you can almost, it's so quiet you can almost hear the silence. You know, there's just like that, the absence of sound is very notable. Your voice echoes, Owl, as you call out into the room. The most notable thing visually across the way from you is, considering the size of the place, a pretty sizable little library area. There's a little step up to a little slightly raised area, and a lot of books, just lots and lots of books. There's a globe in the corner that shows the continent, the continents of the world, and a small modest desk in the middle of this area. And it's from there that you hear this reply, you see someone sitting at the desk, and they're kind of looking and squinting to make you out, and spotting you and seeing, you know, what Pick alluded to, a slightly unusual sight. A rat folk, an owlin, and a half-orc enter the House of Corvus. They stand, and you see a human woman, very slender and quite tall, with short grey hair, and she wears like a pendant around her neck that bears a kind of raven design as well. And she's dressed in kind of, I guess, the robes of a clergy person, that are black and purple in design, black with kind of purple trim. And she, seeing you, begins to walk towards you, and she says, "My goodness, what a unexpected sight! Are you travellers? Are you tourists to Midgen?"
As my father was of the clergy as well, I greet her as should be for the clergy people in Playdean. We're traveling from Openshield to Midgen, in search of help.
In search of help?
Have you heard about the catastrophe that happened in Openford?
I haven't. What on earth has befallen it?
Well, this morning, a giant stone fell from the sky and almost devastated. Well, it devastated Oakenford.
Oh my! Well, that's terrible. As she reacts to that, she turns to Jeb and she goes, "My dear, would you be so kind as to remove your hat indoors?"
Oh, excuse me, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Just, you know, one of those little.
I'm normally so good at remembering that. I must be tired.
One of those, you know, little, you know, courteous things that we do in civilized parts of the world. She goes, "Well, that's dreadful. Anyway, about Oakenford. I don't know that I'll be able to be much help. I would suggest you speak to either the magistrate or the deputy magistrate."
Well, we already talked to them, but we also have some questions that they said you could help us with.
Oh?
When we were leaving Oakenford, we came across a line that said, "Find the Great Wolf." Do you perhaps know anything about a Great Wolf?
No. No, nothing.
Okay.
Does she set that in like a way that you expect her to know something about it. Or
Give-
just
Give me an insight check.
oh god.
I'm gonna do this as well, if that's all right. Yeah.
15.
And 12. Not great.
Her response was very clipped. She was very quick to answer.
Might I ask, how long are you a bishop of Corvus?
I've been actually. Do you know? I know the answer to that, but I need to look it up. I actually do have an answer to that. Yes. Okay. Cool. She says. Says I've been the bishop here for 9 years. Just over. nine. It was 9 years. This Bloomtide.
When did you become an adherent of Corvus?
Oh, well, Corvus has lived in my heart as I know it does in yours for my entire life.
And she's older, right? Like she's
Yeah, I think you'd probably clock her at maybe about 60 years old.
okay. Oh, so I was like, oh, since even before the war, then that's quite faithful.
Yes, I wasn't born in Playdean. I was sent to help spread his light.
Are you familiar at all with any followers of Asmanos? I know it ain't a name you hear very often these days.
Never.
Just curious.
In fact, I think you should leave.
Sorry, we're just curious.
Wow.
You don't have
Yeah,
to
no, it's
get
just out. Yeah. This is.
so
Please,
offensive.
yeah, please understand. This is just curiosity. I mean, I see your elaborate library here, and just wondering. You know, you seem like quite the historian.
The name.
And if I need to persuade or charm or anything like that, I'm happy to.
How would you do that? What do you want to appeal to here?
I want to appeal to maybe it's a deception instead. But okay, what I want to appeal to is that this is just a ask out of curiosity, and her reaction is kind of shocking, and so I want to kind of say, like, we're not ourselves like followers, but we're just here to learn, I guess.
I'll ask for a persuasion. The DC on this is going to be high because I think strangers coming into the House of Corvus with dire news about Oakenford and then asking a question about Asmanos, I think she will be hard to convince that this is purely a curiosity question. So should we do persuasion or deception? Let's do deception, and it's going to be a DC 18.
Oh my god! I have a whopping 0 to my.
Better roll good then.
Yeah, let's see. Here we go. Oh boy. No, that ain't gonna do it. That ain't gonna do it.
Her face, any feeling, she'd been friendly-ish initially. All the life has gone out of her face now. She looks really stern. She says, "You will not find information. It is one thing entirely to mention Asmanos out and about in the world, but to come into the House of Corvus and mention him, I think, is in extremely poor taste, and I'd appreciate it if the three of you would leave."
Well, I apologize for causing any offense, ma'am. We'll be on our way.
May the light of Corvus go with you.
I
May the
look
light
at
of Corvus go
Jeb
with
and
you.
all, like, do I need to try? Or are we just going to leave?
Thorn's like, let me solve the problem the way I solve most
I'll-
problems.
Yeah,
I'll sign.
I'll be
Yeah,
like,
I'll sign to Thorn. Just come with us.
yeah, let's maybe not rough up the
And
Thorn.
I'll
the holy
um,
person here.
Thorn, you're your own person. What do you want to do?
It's true. Yeah, I'm not gonna sway, but I think I'm like,
I will just follow them outside then.
All right. As the three of you exit, the door is closed behind you, and you hear it lock behind you.
wow.
All walks out of the church, looking like he's stung by a bee. As he feels like he was berated by his father, and that brings back not too pleasant memories.
Yeah. Let me ask this, Martin, and this I mean, and again, if I need to roll for this, but is that like a normal reaction? Like, is that
What, her
the way
reaction?
that this god is generally seen as, like, almost like talking about the devil in it, you know what I mean? Like,
You're who was it that rolled earlier about Asman? Was it Owl?
it was
Yeah.
it was me.
It was you. That's right, yeah, because we established that you've not heard the name of Asmanos in a number of years. Now, how often does that come up? Probably not very often.
Right.
That's probably the first time you've ever said the word Asmanos. So, is it typical? Only one way to find out, right?
I
I
guess.
see. Okay.
That's the
So,
first
yeah,
time
like,
you've said
I
it, and
guess-
that's the first reaction you've had. That being said, she's a member of the clergy for a completely different god.
Right. Well, I have learned a valuable lesson today. I don't reckon I'll be darkening the doorstep of this here house of worship any other time in my life. All right then. It seems that door is quite literally closed to us. I apologize.
Yeah, that went quite well.
It did,
Is it
didn't
now
it?
time to search for a bat, or do we need to go somewhere else?
I think I need to sleep that off. I think let's go to the Wyvern.
Well,
Yeah, let's do that.
would Crash intervene with mental damage as well?
Hey, that's a thought.
I
Useful in fact.
I ask out loud to Jeb and Thorn, just like a brainwave going out there.
Thorn, get back in there. We'll go get Crash.
I look at all and like, you're really considering asking that Knucklehead for help?
Well,
You're
No, I guess
even
not.
more crazy
It'll
than I
be-
thought.
I
it'll
reckon
be
you're
two
right.
knuckleheads together.
That's right. No, we probably need some sleep. It's been a long old day. I think.
Just turn around with an eye roll and like, I will see you in the morning. I'm going to bed. Bye.
To the Wyvern, then, is it?
I reckon so.
Wyvern.
Cool. As you approach the Wyvern, you see a sign in the window that says "Rooms available. Inquire within." As you open the door, it's quite lively in there. Not like rowdy, but you know it's well populated. There are some people in there. One of the people, as the door opens, looks over and goes "Ah!" and runs out, and it is of course Agatine, who just legs it out the side door, and just like runs all the way back to Midgeon Manor. And watching her run off, the tavern keeper, who is a a blonde woman, and quite sort of quite a sort of sturdy build. She sort of watches Agatine run out the door and turns to you and goes, "You never know what's going to set her off." She goes, "Come on in. Are you here for food or for board?"
We're looking for some food and a sleeping place.
Aye, well, we can do both. Will the three of you share a room?
I look around. I don't know. I'm picturing Owl is a bit in front of Jeb and Thorn, and he turns his head all the way to Thorn on one side, and then Jeb on the other side, and then look back
Love
to
that.
the bar lady.
Say no more,
I don't
she says. She just sees the look on your face. She's like, 3 rooms, is it?
Okay.
If you got them to spare, it might be nice.
We're actually empty tonight, my love. You're all right. She goes, we've got a very nice lamb stew on the go, if that's all right for food.
Sounds
Oh,
good.
that sounds
good.
delightful.
Marvellous.
Do you have some corn next to it as a side?
Corn? Well,
Yeah.
we normally would have,
Oh.
but we've actually just handed over the last of our corn to the deputy magistrate.
That's so sweet of you.
Said they needed it for some help going to Oakenford or something.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's very nice to hear. I think we'll do without then.
Well,
Yeah.
she motions to a nearby table. She's like, "Oh, have a seat, and I'll bring it all over. Something to drink, a juice or a water, perhaps."
Some coffee, please, with some honey.
Coffee with honey. All right, we can do that. And
Water
for you,
for me.
water,
I think a cup of tea would be quite nice.
cup of tea. Aye. All right, take a seat. I'll be right back. What's weird is that 2 guys at the next table are drinking as if they've got shots. They clink their 2 little wooden cups together and like, "Wah!" and like, "Hey!" Quite sort of lively fashion. Anyway, the tavern keeper heads off to go and get your orders sorted out.
Before I step away to the table and before she turns around, like seeing that, can I say, "Can I have a bit what they're having too, just on the side?"
You want an orange juice?
Orange
No.
juice.
She goes, "I don't know why they're like that, but they like to pretend they're having a better time than they are. They know full well there's not a drop of alcohol in it."
Yeah, I imagine so. I'll be fine with my tea, thank you.
When
No
she
problem.
mentions orange juice, Owl's head is just turning from left to right. Like, what the fuck?
Cool. So, in the interest of time, is there any business that you guys want to discuss between yourselves? Is there anything you want to do with any of the patrons? I don't think you recognise anybody in the Wyvern at this time. None of the people that you've met thus far are there. Is there anything you want to do, or do you want to kind of fast forward a little bit to Betty Buys?
I'm not want to do something, but I have a question. But that's
Yes.
maybe because we have now like basically come to 2 gods kind of things. Are there gods that Thorn might have like used for things in Jin?
I don't think so. Well, Jin would probably have its own deities. Probably. I don't think Thorn would have any knowledge whatsoever of the gods that have existed in Playdeen.
Okay, because Thorn would actually like swear like a Viking and like use the names of gods, like
My
oh,
Odin.
Beard of Gorlark or something like that.
All right, Gorlog. There you go. You just made one up. Well done. That's a god in Jin. Well done.
Hell
I will
yeah.
make a pantheon.
Thanks very much. We now have a canon god for Jin. Is that a monotheism, or is it like a Norse kind of thing where it's like a pantheon?
Norse kind of thing with multiple.
Well done. You just invented the first god of Jin. Well done.
Woohoo!
Briggs, if you're still in, we've worked in your redeem. Good job. we've done some home brewing. We've made a
Yes,
D&D thing. Well,
we have.
well done. Good work, Butcha. The only bit of business that I can think of, which might be fun, is I think like because earlier Jeb was sort of like on the spot planning about kind of the way things might go tomorrow if we can secure the cart and all that. And like he's so proud of his little sending stones or message stones and be like, hey, watch this, and I'm gonna like record a message on one and like kind of flick it over to the table with the two guys like
Yep.
throwing back shots of orange juice, and I'm gonna record it to say, if y'all want the real stuff, just come on south to Oakenfort, get you a cup of Tormist, it'll knock you on your ass just right. That's it.
So you ping that stone over to their table, and they
Just tell them if they want, like they can leave here to get something to drink if they really want.
They
Is there music playing in the Wyvern?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
As you hear, as this message, so this message is spoken out from the stone, right?
That's right.
Yeah, there's a guy playing like a lute in the corner of the room, gently. As this message speaks, and it says, if you want to drink something a little stronger or whatever, we can get some outside. Somehow the lute makes the exact sound of like a record scratch on a jukebox. And goes,
String snaps.
and the whole place goes dead silent. And the tavern keeper comes storming out from behind the bar, goes over to this table, picks up the stone, and goes, "Who threw this?"
Jeb goes, well, time to go.
She looks around and nobody putting their hands up. She just like scowls and puts the stone in her pocket. She goes, "Whoever threw that, we don't do that sort of thing round here." She walks back and then moments later reappears with your dinner and your tea and your coffee with honey in it and your water, Al. She sort of shakes her head and walks off. Good. Any other anything else you guys want to achieve before bedtime?
Nope, not for me.
No.
Okay. So, in the interest of time, you're shown to your rooms. You are now long rested. The night passes without incident. As you come down in the morning, the tavern keeper, nobody's asked, but her name's Yeremina Yabbit. So, just saying. And I write the names, so I like to tell people what the names are. She goes.
As you should.
She goes. You're awake. You're the ones who came from Oakenford yesterday, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
They're waiting for you outside.
Thanks for us.
All right.
As you step out into the square, there is come again. There is as you step out into the square, you see the two guys from the table that were shooting orange juice. and they're kind of slumped up against a wall, and like their arms are around each other, like both sitting against the wall. Like, that was a great night, wasn't it, mate? Yeah, always good up there. Must go back again sometime. Really mysterious guys. Anyway, in addition to that, in the square, there's you can see a fairly large cart with two horses, kind of not saddled up, but you know, like whatever's what would it be? What's the word for when they're tied, ready to pull a cart? I don't know. There's got to be a word for that. Bridled up, maybe. I'm not sure. And they're in position, and you can see that the cart is pretty well stocked. It's got a couple of barrels on the back of it, some sacks, and a couple of like open crates with fruit and vegetables inside. And you can see Ellis is kind of walking around, just talking to various people. She sees you, she goes, right, yes, there you are. Good morning. So look, people have really come through. I think they've really delivered. I think this will be enough to certainly get them through the coming days, and hopefully by that time, further help will have arrived. I've really tried to do all I can. This really is everything Midgeon can spare, I'm afraid. We're a small community. We don't grow and produce an awful lot ourselves. Much of what we get comes from Oakenford, so some of this probably came from Oakenford in the first place and is just going back. But I hope that this will help. She goes, look, we have a driver and an assistant. She points to two people that are kind of sat on top of the cart. She goes, will you be travelling back with them, or are you going elsewhere?
Well,
What do
our
y'all
plan
think?
was to look for more help in the vicinity. But Jab has that thing for the people going there, so that they know in Oakenford it comes from Midgeon. Comes by us. Would that be okay?
So sorry,
Yes, like
Al,
yeah.
what was that you were trying to say you've got? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, yes, like I would have. I guess I want to consult with you all and get a consensus if that's what we want to do, because I think is Jeb like interested in finding more about Great Wolf, but also want to make sure that this cart goes back to Oakenford safely. So what do y'all think about that?
Maybe
as a
we
plan.
can ask Alice how safe the roads are these days.
Yeah, we did walk it with no issue, but
Yeah. Only the
we also don't need the
girl
Rubiquex thinking they're dust goblins or whatever. So
Dangerous on the road. Lots of dust goblins about this time of year.
yeah, you got to be careful. You got to keep an eye out. So yeah, that's I guess that's my.
So
I
what
thought-
you want to ask Ellis about the road, or?
Yeah, let's do that and make a decision based on that.
Yeah, she says.
You have to
She goes, well, with a horse and cart, it's a pretty swift journey. I mean, did you have any trouble on the road?
No, we didn't.
You know better than me what the position between Oakenford and Midgeon is. It's generally fairly safe. You do sometimes hear of incidents, but they're relatively uncommon. If the road was clear yesterday when you came, then I'd hope that the same would go now. And you know, with the horse and cart, it will only be a journey of perhaps 4 or 5 hours if the road is clear.
Oh, that ain't too bad.
Yeah, I think the card will be fine. We can go somewhere else to ask for more help.
It'll work.
All right. All right. So yeah. So I'll reach into the satchel, pull out another one of these stones, and I'll leave a message that basically says like, the these are all the supplies we could muster from Midgen. They were very, they were helpful, mostly.
A couple of people
and,
were. One couple in particular were.
Sugar coated a little bit, I guess. But then say that we are seeking further assistance, and we will be back soon. And please be well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She goes.
And I'll sit that I'll give that to the driver and say I trust you. Please give this to. God, names are so bad, hard for me to remember. I'm so sorry.
Pangborn?
Senator Pangborn.
Pangborn, thank you. I don't know why that is not sticking in my mind. But yeah, I'll say, please give this directly to Senator Pangborn. Thank you very much.
Of course, my lord. Eliz is there and says, she goes, come have a word. And she kind of ushers you aside, away from the earshot of anyone else. She says, look, I know my husband thinks it's a long shot. His relationship with the other elves is, well, complicated. He obviously doesn't feel they'll help. I think it's probably worth asking. The elves are, on the whole, fairly reasonable in my experience. Even though they've been, well, I think they would, I'd like to think, perhaps this could even be an opportunity for some kind of healing. I don't know. She says, is there anything else that you wish to send back with the cart?
No, I think that's it.
Not that I know of.
Oh, yes. I'm going to also take off the bag of holding. And since that has all the medicine and healing and everything in it, they might need this. Please also give this to Senator Pangborn.
She takes it and looks at it and goes, are you sure?
Well, it ain't technically mine. It belongs to a Dr. Cobean, and I did tell him we'd bring it back safely to him. So I'm a rat of my word.
Hmm.
And I'll kind of hold it out forward to give to her.
Very well. She puts it on top of on the cart and pulls out a piece of parchment and a quill and scribbles an additional couple of items on the bottom. And it appears to be kind of like a manifesto of everything that's travelling on the cart. You can see there are lines of, crates of potatoes and all this kind of thing written down. Very well. All right. And she goes and just taps the driver on the side and says, go with as much haste as you can, but get it there safely. Aye, ma'am. The cart pulls away and moves off at a trot kind of speed. The cart bumping along the stones as it goes. She turns to you all and goes, good luck in everything you're looking for, and well, come back and see us if you wish to. I'll send Pick down to Oakenford. The thing with his brother, it is what it is. I'll get him there to go and to help. He'll be useful there. He's a unbelievable craftsman. I'll get him to take Rygo and Ligo, the Tinker Twins, as well.
We appreciate your help, ma'am. You've been incredibly kind and helpful. We're very grateful to you, as are the people of Oakenford, I am sure. Thank you.
Yes. Well, all right. Good day. And she wanders off back towards her home, leaving the three of you in the square of Midgen. We're not really a currency-based game. I don't have any intention of tracking silver and gold with you guys. You paid a small amount for the room, a few silver maybe. Generally speaking, if you want to buy stuff, I'll let you know if you can afford it, basically, and how devastating it is to your finances if there's any major purchases. In general, if it's sundries, then you'll be fine.
Right.
So yeah, you're in the square. Is there anyone else you want to talk to, or are you hitting the road? And if so, which road? Where are you heading? Where are you going?
So Jeb would most likely visit just the sundry store for a few little odds and ends, roots and herbs, and just different things that he uses for all of his alchemy. Just to make sure he's stocked up after getting a lot smashed and broken while in what happened in Oakenford. And to the group was like, are y'all even just a little bit curious about the Crash headquarters? Just a little bit?
No.
Alright, then, well.
Thorn does not want to see this guy ever again. I love it. All right.
I'm only interested in seeing if there are more than one people in there.
I get the suspicion that it's just him. I really think it's just him. And he has come up with his whole cockamamie scheme.
Yeah, I think that as well. So I don't want to spend time on that. He's not helpful at all.
No, I do agree with that. I do agree with that.
We had enough of a brain aneurysm yesterday.
Yeah. But the Alice did seem quite thinking that the elves will help, so maybe we should go to Valerian.
I think we should definitely do that. And do y'all reckon it'd be worth, while we're here, they're just north of us, going into the woods and tear around and see if we can find out anything more about Grey Wolf?
Yeah, maybe we find someone living in the woods that knows more.
Yeah, it might be worth it.
Well, ultimately, they're both in the same direction initially. The best way to both is, I mean, you could cut. Well, it's up to you. You could cut across country through the hills towards the forest if you want to go directly there, or certainly the easier, though it might be slightly longer way, would be to take the road back to the main road and then head north, which goes ultimately up to Valarian, but kind of goes past the eastern edge of the Forest of Taran.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Yeah, I feel like I'd be just about right at home tracking my path through them woods. Y'all look about familiar with it as well. I think we'd be just fine doing some pathfinding.
I don't know the way at all because I've never been here before, so we'll have to rely on you guys.
Well, I ain't either, to be quite honest, but I feel like between the three of us, we're naturals. We'll be all right.
All right, so cross country it is.
Yeah.
Great. So heading out the. Is there anything else that you want to do in Midgin before we leave?
No, for me not.
Okay.
There is one thing, but I'm searching for a alleyway somewhere to not be seen by other people passing along.
Okay.
If I find that area, I'll take out the amulet and try again to see if I can get the amulet to work.
When you remove the sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. Go on.
Removing the amulet from your pocket, the faint red glow has returned.
Do I see the glow changing if I move it a bit more? So if I step a bit more to the left or to the front, do I see the glow slightly changing?
No, not like directionally. No.
still want to try if I step closer, if I walk closer to the House of Corvus, if I see it change or.
As you walk towards the House of Corvus, the the glow gets weaker.
I'll pocket the amulet and then join Thorn and Jeff.
Cool. All right, friends, your time in Midgin, for now at least, is at an end. This unusual little village of strange characters is put in your metaphorical rearview mirror as you head out not east back to the main road, but north, straight out of Midgin. You turn and follow the stream northwards as you head up into the hills.
Are there any vessels that are on the river?
No, it's just a shallow brook, really. It's not a waterway that would be big enough to hold boats or anything. After a time, you leave the side of the brook and head off into these hills, where there's no clear road. And you're relying, I guess, on your navigation, your instincts, and as you head on your way towards the Forest of Tarren in search of who knows what. And that, I think, friends, is a perfect place for us to leave today's adventure.